2020. Day 22, no sports due to COVID-19. Day 16 of shows for us. That first Friday and now 3 complete weeks for us. And we could not thank you more. And I mean it sincerely from the bottoms of all our hearts here at Flynn Broadcasting at Sports 56. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, sponsors. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us during these trying times. And we hope we can bring you some news and some entertainment, some sports. There's a little sports. We can get a lot out of a little these days, can't we? And try to have some fun. We'll do that today with you until 6 o'clock. At 3:30, Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet in his normal appointed time, and he'll talk about this lonely, empty streets of Las Vegas, but also some historical perspective from him on other things. 4 o'clock, Memphis newsman extraordinaire Bill Dries from the Daily Memphian, long time at REC, long time at the Flyer, long time around town. He'll join us to talk the news impact locally of this and all the tentacles that it has, both medical, societal, business, restaurant, churches, synagogues, everything. This is touched it all. We'll visit with Bill Dries about that at 4:30. Our friend Peter Edmondson from Sports 56 Mornings and The Athletic, he'll be with us. And at 5 o'clock on all things NBA, our friend Andy Schiffman, based in Chicago, native Memphian. I think he's back home now, Dave, and here for a while. We'll check with Andy at 5 o'clock, and we'll wrap up the day at 5:47 with Taco Bell Crunch Time. Good Friday to you, Dave.
Good Friday to you. When you said this was day 22, and a lot of other places are starting to denote when sports ended, I just started thinking, will we say day 122, day 222? Would we even go to 322 days before there are sports again? I don't know the answer to that. It's just so mind-boggling when you start to see all the stories that are coming out. For instance, the NBA now, there was a very good story that I believe was from CBS, and they are basically saying that the NBA has already figured they're out of any timetable for having a traditional playoff scenario. They're basically saying quarantining one location, that's the only solution. We talked about that. And Vegas now is the only city the NBA is currently giving any kind of serious consideration to. They would send 16 teams to play in Vegas in hollow arenas. Not ideal, but that's what it could end up evolving into.
And that's something. I mean, it is historic, epic times for sure, Dave. And you're right of the speculative nature. I had a friend of mine that likes to pick at me and pick at Sports Talk Radio, but he is a friend and he does listen. And he says it's too much speculation about who's going to win, who's going to lose, and who's going to lose their jobs. And I plead guilty to that. Yeah, we do talk a lot. I mean, if anybody really knew who was going to win these games, I wouldn't be sitting here, and you wouldn't be sitting where you are. We would be somewhere where we could cash in on who's going to really win the games. And there's a lot of guessing, but when it comes to the news side of it, we try to ground it in fact. But this is one of the most speculative things we've ever entered into, because I just told someone, Dave, we're in the medical survival stage of this, literally, and I mean that. We are in the medical survival, cope, adapt, understand. I think in 2 weeks, in general population, everywhere you go, you will see people with face masks on. If you were out there early with one on, I think you're the leader of the class. You were pretty smart. We will then go from the medical survival, see if we come out of it phase into the economic phase. And that could last longer than the medical survival phase.
No, the bottom line is we have to rely on doctors really to tell us all the information. And, every doctor that I've seen so far that is involved in the Shelby County or the state health departments, they are all saying that the surge is going to come in the Memphis area, in Shelby County, and in this whole metro area, which really makes up about 9 different counties that it's not coming for 2 to 4 weeks. So you like to say the first inning. We really and truly are in the first inning of all of this. And then I don't know what happens with the economy at this point. The best indicator that I can see, and I don't really know totally how it applies to everybody, but the market today is down 360. That used to be a disastrous day, right? When we would see the market fluctuations of 100, 150 points.
360, it's into scrambling.
Well, now, we can have swings from anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 points, and that's every day. So when it loses only 360 and it's still over 21,000, I'm sitting here thinking, well, that might be an okay day, considering where this thing could be.
Little ham and egg down 360 day. We'll take it. We'll count that as a W, won't we, Dave?
Well, I don't know if we'll count it as a W, but
a tie.
But I'm not going to count it as a severe beatdown. I'll tell you that.
Drew, you hate ties. Will you take 360 down in the Dow as a tie? You hate them so bad.
I'll take it as a tie at this point.
You like ties now?
At this point, I'll take a tie.
Yeah, well, it is changed on us in a hurry, and it's a real impact to everyone's life, and not just us sports guys and people that like sports, but for me, and that it's my life. I love this stuff, and I said yesterday hit me pretty hard. Missing the NC tournament hit me hard, but yesterday hit me hard with Cardinals opening day. I mean, we were set. I was going to leave here tonight at 6 and get to St. Louis and check in about 10 o'clock tonight, and tomorrow afternoon go to Busch Stadium, see the O's and the Cardinals at 1 o'clock, and do the same on Sunday, and meet Drew and his dad on Sunday, and we were going to all go together, and we were going to keep an eye on the Final Four in Atlanta. Boy, we got a way of our ways changing in a hurry, don't we?
Incredibly fast. I mean, who would have seen just 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago, that this really and truly was coming? We knew there was stuff going on in China. We knew it was spreading to Europe. I don't think at the very beginning all of us really embraced what totally this was going to mean. I don't think we could get it because we've never seen anything like it. But now we do. And I know I had this discussion yesterday, and I mentioned it to you. The more I read all of this, and again, I don't really know, but I would not be shocked if we did not have sports as we know it, that normalcy as we know it, until we have what is a tested and working vaccine. And that we know is a year away because they have to test it.
I don't disagree. I don't know that I would bet on a start date. I would sure hope somebody would be right on sooner rather than later. Dave, at times, and I'm not saying I haven't been, that my sleep has been disrupted because of this, but sometimes during the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll roll around the radio and listen to kind of late night crazy radio. I call it Art Bell crazy radio. Yeah. And sometimes you can get all kind of guests on, and there are some claiming that I predicted this. If you call this one, you win the award.
I don't believe anybody, any quack or anybody was able to get their finger on this one. Since you mentioned Art Bell, I used to love Art Bell. and there's a guy, George Norrie, I think, now has that
he does.
That spot.
He's not as crazy. He's not as crazy.
Is Art Bell still with us?
No, Art is no longer with us. He's no longer west of the Rockies.
I would say that Art may actually be up there,
pulling all the strings.
Pulling all the strings, exactly.
Art could be, but sometimes you can hear their go-to subject. This same friend of mine that talks about the speculative nature sometimes of talk radio. He says, "I'm convinced you guys, when you have nothing else to do, you start hiring and firing coaches. Well, we don't do it intentionally. We only do it when it comes up subject matter." I have jokingly said, since really about the summer of 2010, on a slow sports talk radio in June, talk conference realignment, talk conference expansion. That's kind of a go-to subject. Usually on that late night crazy talk radio, when they don't have anything else to talk about, what do you think the subject matter is? Who killed JFK?
Oh, well, yeah. Although the Art Bell would have been the aliens from this certain planet are definitely coming by.
And it's not great radio when and invariably there'll be one caller out of 20 that calls in with all the far-fetched notions from CIA to mob to getting Bobby Kennedy back to LBJ. And invariably one guy will call in and go, well, I know who killed JFK. Lee Harvey Oswald did. Well, that's not great, right? We don't need you calling and saying that. And they'll get that person off there in a hurry for sure. But we've got a fun show today. Dave, I don't know Bill Dries. I've never met Bill Dries, but I've watched, read, and listened to him for years. You know him very well. He'll be our guest at 4 o'clock. I'm really looking forward to talking with Bill.
Well, I worked with Bill, I don't know, double-digit years, that's for sure.
You did?
When we were both at WREC, and there is not a human being that is more consumed by his job than Bill Dries. I will say that. I used to remember watching him gather for, he used to do like a weekly perspective show. And I'm not lying when I said we're going to ask him about it. He would line up, I'm going to say 40 or 50 different carts, because we used to have everything instead of on computers. Yeah. They would be on these little carts. He would line up 40 or 50. I mean, I don't know how he organized the whole darn thing the way that he did, and he would just go through that hour program, and I mean, he was a machine, and he's got a passion and a terrific perspective, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he thinks historically about this, and how he thinks this will eventually affect the city, both health-wise and economically.
Dave, I remember the cart machine well, and I can remember when it got to be a big deal when we would get 3, and you could have them all lined up to fire 3 carts in a row. They looked like an 8-track, but they were not an 8-track.
Yeah, that is correct. They were a little. The tape itself in a cart was a little bit wider, more thick.
Yeah. Than
what you would get with an 8-track. Hey, our friend Rob Ritchie from Pro Resume has sent me, and I want people to be aware of opportunities out there. He has sent me a list, and this is pretty amazing to me. Companies from industries spanning basically from technology to retail who are hiring to meet the increased demand caused by what we have going on. So here is an updated list of companies. This is national, right? And I'm just going to give this list out for those of you who are unemployed and going crazy and really scared about where that rent check's coming from if you haven't paid your rent yet this month. I'm just going to go through this really quickly if you don't mind. Walmart is hiring 150,000 workers. Now, again, this is nationally for its distribution and fulfillment centers. The company Amazon is looking for about 100,000 new workers. Again, the same sort of thing for delivery. CVS Health is hiring 50,000 people. Dollar General is looking to add 50,000 employees by the end of April. Pizza Hut is hiring 30,000 permanent employees to serve as drivers, shift leaders, cooks, and managers. Lowe's is hiring 30,000 employees. Dollar Tree, the parent company of Family Dollar, 25,000 workers for stores and distribution centers. Walgreens hiring 25,000. 7-Eleven hiring 20,000 employees. Kroger looking to add 20,000 workers across the U.S. Domino, 10,000 employees for their pizza company. Target, nearly 10,000 employees. PepsiCo says it will hire 6,000 employees over the coming months. Big Lots, 5,000 people, and the list goes on and on. So if you are looking and you're willing to be a driver, a delivery person, a distribution guy, and you've got any logistical talent, contact any of these companies because they really are in need. We are turning more and more to the delivery, the Amazons of the world, the FedExes of the world. I don't know if FedEx is hiring. I know they've just increased their credit line. And Fred Smith, it was announced by, I think, both newspapers that Fred's going to slash his salary. So they're in a mode of trying to save a little bit of money and keep things afloat. But all those companies, they are hiring, and I think it's critical that we let people know about that, and we'll let you let you in on any updated lists as they go on.
Dave, we will, and that is good information. And thank you, Rob Ritchie, for sure. This hour every day brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Spring Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models and always special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus, too. Driving luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking great and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the car business. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, that is obviously our corona dashboard total. In Shelby County now, 640 cases. We keep going up, and now 8 deaths. The total of tests that have been distributed now is 6,369 tests. And with 640 cases, that means we are running about, for every test, 10% that end up being affected by the disease. And that's early on here before this surge. There was somebody who's a traffic expert that has been doing a survey, and I don't know if that is just driving around or using all the T-Dot cameras, but he says in Shelby County we have cut movement by about 45%. That's good, he says, but not good enough. Today, Bartlett extended their stay-at-home through April the 10th, so that's just one more week. Meta, by the way, got $35 million from the federal government to put more buses on the road because they're limiting only 10 riders per bus, and that came from Congressman Steve Cohen's office, so he worked hard to get $35 million from the feds for Meta. The state, it was just announced about an hour ago, will close all 56 state parks. So if you were planning on taking a hike in a Tennessee state park, I believe all those trails now will be closed. Worldwide, we're over 1,084,398 cases of coronavirus. 58,241 have deceased from COVID-19 in the U.S. Now we are at 266,279. Over 6,800 have perished in Tennessee. 3,194 cases, 32 have passed away. In Mississippi, 1,358 with 29 who have perished. And in Arkansas, still the least amount, 687 cases, 12 have died. And that's the corona dashboard.
And in New York City today, over 500 people have passed away just today from COVID-19. My top story, the NFL top doctor, Dr. Alan Seals, he says the NFL will not start until widespread testing is in place and removal of gathering restrictions has taken place. Here is his direct quote. As long as we are still in a place where when a single individual, I repeat, a single individual tests positive for the virus, that you have to quarantine every single person who is in contact with them in any shape, form, or fashion, then I don't think you can begin to think about reopening a team sport, because we're going to have positive cases for a very long time. Dave, that is batting 1,000. When you say every single person, that is batting 1,000.
Yeah, no. And in fact, that is my not top story of the day. So, Drew, please play the sounder.
Not top story of the day.
I go right back to your theme on Dr. Alan Sills, who is the chief medical officer for the league. He says, on top of everything you mentioned, and think about this, he says widespread testing would have to be available before you could think about reopening the league, and those test results would have to be able to be returned to the doctors quickly, almost instantaneously. In other words, probably you'd have to do a morning test on every player and then get it back by the afternoon before you kick the football off.
Like a home pregnancy test.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not there yet. And
Not
again,
close.
That goes back to what I'm saying. The barometer may end up being when we got a vaccine that we know works, and we know you can still be near somebody and you're not going to get it because the vaccine will make sure it doesn't. That may be when we really return to normalcy, and maybe that is when we can really play sports in big stadiums and things of that nature. Otherwise, we're probably going to have to improvise, and it's not going to be the same.
Now, so,
folks, we're looking. We're at day 22. We could be looking at day 380.
Dave, we can remember when Nightline with Ted Koppel started as a show because of the Iranian hostage situation in Tehran in 1979, and it started with American held hostage, day 3, day 12.
Right.
Do you remember the day number it ended on?
I don't, but I do remember it then became Nightline after it was America taken hostage.
Day 444.
Wow, really?
And let me give you a little Brett nugget. Hostages taken in Iran on my birthday in 1979, November 4th, 1979, 444 days later, released on my mother's birthday, January 20th, 1981. How about that?
Wow, I would call that Norsworthy.
Yeah. Norsworthy 19? Norsworthy 444?
Newsworthy, Norsworthy, what the heck?
My not top story, Dodgers star third baseman Justin Turner says once back, baseball should end extra inning games with a home run derby. If the game's tied after 10 innings, have a home run derby. Boy, let's go over all the things.
Wow. Wait. Are we going to have real pitchers? I mean, or is your buddy going to come in and throw it?
Great. I mean, are you going to get the bullpen guy out there just serving you up? Yeah. Great question, Dave. Let's go over all the things that baseball, not anti-baseball people, not basketball people that don't really like baseball, not a hater of the sport, baseball people. They hate DHs. They hate extra innings. They hate pitching changes. They hate long games. They want 7-inning games. That's from baseball people. Who needs enemies from outside when you've got the biggest enemies of the sport inside the sport, Dave?
Well, the home run derby thing is just ridiculous. I'm embarrassed that a player actually came up with that concept.
He should be embarrassed, and you know what? He's not.
I know. One last thing, and I know we have to take a break, and we're going to go to Vegas and talk to our golden man from the Gold Sheet, Bruce Marshall, the mayor, who was so kind to be on with us yesterday and so insightful. He sent me a website regarding the question I asked about explanations for small businesses who are trying to figure out how they can get their share of the federal stimulus package, which allows you to borrow money that will be forgiven if you retain employees. And we had Walker Taylor up, and you guys know Walker as the owner of the commissary. Well, Walker was talking about how difficult it was, and the mayor said we have a dedicated website. So he actually texted me today the Twitter site to go to. It is, and if anybody wants to know, we'll make sure we post it somewhere.
We'll tweet it out from the WHBQ site. Send it to Drew.
Yeah,
and we'll send it out.
It is hashtag capital F REE, free, but with a capital F, capital W, web link at capital B, capital K, capital D, capital L, capital P. Free web link at BKDLLP.
Okay, we'll get
with
that
the
out.
Appropriate capitals.
We'll get
and
that
that's
out.
a hashtag on the front of it.
And we appreciate the mayor. Dave, we got Bruce Marshall coming up at 3:30.
Can't wait. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
The word is out about R&R on Sports, where you've heard interviews from
Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more.
Right here, R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m., Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Don't miss it.
A heart in my tasty Honey Nut Cheerios? Cereal. You trying to tell me you love me?
Actually, it's reminding you that it can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Wait! They can help lower cholesterol? I've been so focused on the sweet, tasty taste that I completely forgot. Now I'm in love.
Learn more about making Honey Nut Cheerios part of your heart-healthy lifestyle by picking up a box at your local grocery store.
Pastor Chris from Living Testimonies in Somerville, Tennessee invites you and your loved ones every Sunday on Sports 56 to praise God and worship with us from 10 to 11 a.m. on AM 560, FM 87.7, and FM 96.1. I have recently attended Living Testimonies in Somerville. What really touched my heart is the love and joy of Christ I felt from their faith-filled community, and the music was very anointed, a real revival on the way. If you feel alone or need a Holy Spirit booster shot, like you're standing on the glory spout of the living water, join us this Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. and worship with us. Every person is a living testimony. Thank you, Pastor Chris, and your beautiful holy community of love and light in Christ. And if you have a prayer request, please call 731-443-4100. We will pray with you over the phone. God bless you.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
We welcome you back in on this Friday afternoon. We're with you until 6 o'clock. You can watch us live and message us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Instagram. And as always, you can text us at 67129 at the First Bank text line, or call us at 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. Every Friday at this time, we visit with Bruce Marshall from Las Vegas from the Gold Sheet. I know he's at his wit's end because he likes to stay busy too. There are no games, Bruce, but there's plenty of historical perspective and things to discuss from the business side of sport, and we appreciate you joining us this Friday. How are you and yours? Everybody doing well?
They're doing good too. I just found out that the golf driving ranges and actually some of these golf courses are open around me. So after I talk to you, I'm going out to the driving range. What the heck?
Well, heck yeah!
Very good.
Get a big bucket of balls and pound on them for a few hours, Bruce. Your family in Italy, how are they?
Yeah, they're okay now. They went up to they escaped Milan where they live, and they're up in Lugano, Switzerland, where my daughter's in-laws are. So they're up there, and things might be getting a little better in Italy and Milan too. And Switzerland's been hit with some of this as well, but they got a little bit more freedom up there. And my daughter seems to get along okay with her mother-in-law, so that's good. What I was more worried about. But they're okay. They're okay. They're up in Switzerland still. At least through Easter they'll be up there. But my son-in-law, okay, he can work from up there, so that's okay for him. He can work remotely, so that's fine. Bruce, what does your daughter and son-in-law say about why people got so sick and why the percentage, I think it was, 12%, passed from the disease there when in other countries it's closer to 2%. Is there any sense as to what made this occur?
Yeah, there was a much greater concentration of Chinese business and people back and forth, especially in northern Italy, and a lot back from Wuhan after that province after the Chinese New Year. Now they did slap some travel restrictions on China before I was there in later February, but that's part. There's a greater connection there and a greater concentration of Chinese in that section, in particular in Italy. It's also an older population up there. A lot of these people are older. They believe now they have been attributing some of these deaths to corona, that people that had some underlying conditions that maybe corona wasn't the reason. So some of those numbers are a little bit skewed. But the numbers are still a lot more in Italy. Spain's catching up some too, but the reason it was more there was just simply because the number of Chinese people coming from China into that part of Italy. And there's a lot industry. There's a real connection up there, and that's where most of it is, and a lot of business connections and people going back and forth northern Italy to China.
Bruce, why has Nevada so far been pretty much spared?
Well, I think it's somewhat like California, and just the way people live in Nevada spread out so much. It's different than New York, where people are living on top of each other. And that's not just Manhattan and New York. Anybody's been out to Queens, you see that. I mean, they had problems up a little bit north in New Rochelle and up in Westchester County, too, there. So people are more packed in a place like New York. Nevada, like California, people are very spread out. And really, in Nevada, there's only two population centers, Las Vegas and Reno. The other thing, too, a lot of people who might have been exposed to this in Nevada, the people who visit the hotels would seem to be really a difficult place to monitor, and they closed all those down here a couple of weeks ago too. A lot of those people who are here don't live in Nevada. A lot of the people here who could have been exposed to it don't live here. They live somewhere else. So that may account for some of it too. But the other thing that perplexes me is there's so many more. There's a lot of Chinese tourists came in. They always did, from the part of the world that seemed to have this for a while. And they weren't stopping that, until the end of January and limiting all that stuff. But like California too had a lot of people coming in there, and it's also just that maybe a lot of people had it and they didn't know it back in January and such, and there was some immunity developed there. Possibly, I don't know. But I think just because people are more spread out this part of the country, and in Las Vegas in particular, a lot of people who are here and may have contracted it don't actually live here. So that's another possibility.
What is it like in Vegas right now? Here's a community all hospitality. That's basically the main economy, tourism, and everything else. And I know you told us last week you don't go downtown that much. You don't have to.
No,
you don't go to that strip. But there's got to be a sense. You watch the news there. I would have to think there's got to be some depression around.
Yeah, there is. And as for the strip, we actually drove down there just to see it last week, and it kind of felt like that movie, like in late '50s, the Harry Belafonte movie with Inger Stevens and Mel Ferrer. He was the only guy left in New York, and everybody that. And, you go down there and it's completely deserted on the strip. So that is very, very odd. The outlying areas, I assume, it's like some other parts of the country. It's not going like normal, but the restaurants are closed with the fact you can still take out food. And we usually go out somewhere every morning to get breakfast at a drive-thru or something. But it's hard to say because not that many people are out doing things. I mean, you just don't see a lot of people. But the stores seem to be still pretty crowded. The ones that are open, the grocery stores, there's always people in those. But you do wonder in a place like this, I mean, the hotel industry, but there is such a support industry around the hotels too, the people who who fold the towels, who drive the trucks to bring the food and the drink there, the suppliers, the convention business, and all of that. So there's a lot in Nevada that's related to this. And I tell you, the hotel industry, especially in this city, it really could have some issues coming up, because even if they start relaxing the social distancing things, you could see that hotels would be and casinos might be some of the last places where they'll start lifting more of this stuff whenever we get to that point. And remember, it's also, the governors are the guys pulling the levers here. So it'll be, the governor here will have to make a decision at the end of April too, because he came out with that through, even before the national thing last weekend about, the recommendation to stay closed. He ordered Nevada shut down for a month. So we'll see what he does. But the industry here is really tourism, hotel, casino dependent. And you just got to wonder when that's, even if it starts to ramp up a little bit, when it's going to come back, and when people are going to have disposable income to come back here. That's the other thing too. And I think that's the whole gaming industry's got to worry about that a bit too, because it's discretionary income right at the top of that pyramid does stuff like go to Vegas, go to Tunica, go to Biloxi, and stay at hotels and bet on sports. So that's in jeopardy too.
Bruce, the Triple Crown horse races, we know the Kentucky Derby's already moved to a September date. If they have that, it was very shaky on the Preakness on Pimlico, and I don't know what kind of shape the Belmont was in, but when we get back to normality, if we ever do, the 3 Triple Crown races could be the Kentucky Derby first, Belmont last, and something different in between as the second one, and that was on its way in good times.
Yeah, the Preakness, and it's a Pimlico problem there, and Pimlico. We may have talked some about Pimlico in the past, where it is in Baltimore, and the whole deal with keeping it there has been up has been a question for a while. Some people thought it was to Laurel. The Stronachs own Pimlico, I believe. They have other tracks around the country. There's thought about at some point moving the Preakness away from Pimlico to another Stronach facility. So that's possible as well. I do not believe Pimlico normally runs in the fall. I'm not sure, but the Stronachs do have some other tracks that they own. So the Preakness could be run somewhere else. I'm not sure the specifics of that. They do have a fall meet in New York, and I believe they come back to Belmont after Saratoga. I think I got to double check that. But they usually do run in the fall in New York, so I think they could probably run it if they're running Belmont. I got to check on that though. Aqueduct still runs as well. But
I know there was a story today about the Preakness, and they're looking for a new date. I have absolutely no idea. We get to the point where they're no longer 3-year-olds, right? If we waited too much longer.
Yeah, you're right. You're right at that. Remember, the old days, they used to have, September and October were usually the big races in the pre-Breeders' Cup era, and that's still, the Woodward and the Jockey Club Gold Cup and things like that. And then they used to have the Marlboro Cup, which was in the 70s in mid-September. So, September historically has been a pretty good time for racing anyway. So, assuming things get back to somewhat normal, maybe they could get those things going in September.
Apparently, from what I've seen here, the Belmont has not made a decision on their event. That's June 6th. I'm certain that will be moved, and we'll just have to figure it out, I guess, from there. I saw that your wonderful publication, the Gold Sheet, named Obi Toppin as the Player of the Year. That, by the way, went along with the way I voted for the Wooden Award. I do think he was the player this year. How close was the voting amongst your people?
It was a one-man panel on that, so it's me.
It wasn't close.
Bruce, when you have the board
forward.
meeting, you say all those in favor say aye, all those opposed say I resign.
That's it. It's the world according to me. No, I thought. I'm a little partial to players not from from a school like Dayton anyway. But listen, I mean, Dayton was a legitimate contender this year. Toppin was their best player. He was a dominant player, especially in the A-10. I am not sure he would have been quite as dominant in the Big East or the Big Ten this year because there just aren't as many bigs in the Atlantic 10. But he was such a unique weapon, and he performed well when Dayton played big teams too. I think he's as good a choice as any, and it wasn't a clear choice this year. I mean, I had thought about Luka Garza too from Iowa. I mean, some of the things that he did this year and some of the numbers he posted were really good.
He was my number 2.
So, yeah, he was very close. And so it kind of came down to those two, but I just thought Toppin, and Toppin was really fun to watch this year too. I mean, he was really and entertaining too for a big guy to do some of the stuff that he did. I thought he was a good choice.
Bruce, I threw this out. If we had in the doomsday nightmare scenario, sure don't want it, it'd be devastating for me. But if we didn't have college football this year, that would be 1 year that USC would still be paying Clay Helton. He could pull the unthinkable. In December, after another year and the buyout gets a little cheaper, they could fire him after going 0-0. Hello, Mike Price.
Well, there you go. Mike Price, yeah, he could, and you could throw off Will Muschamp too. I mean, the other SC. I mean, that could spare Will Muschamp another year as well. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the college discussion is different than the NFL. I think there's college football is a little bit more at risk just because, first of all, colleges itself. I mean, will they be in class?
Yeah.
Yeah. Will colleges be open? The NFL can flex, and the NFL could push its schedule back if they came out and said we're going to start this thing in October. You got to worry about flare-ups of the corona stuff in the fall, even if it tamps down some now. But still, the NFL, I think, has got some more flexibility with this. College football is, I think, a little bit more at risk with this stuff, and we'll just see how it goes.
I just want to ask you this, because what's the wisest thing you're always supposed to do? Trace the money, right? So we know, I mentioned this yesterday, college football at the Power 5 level, the schools average $120 million stream. $120 million comes in every year from the 12 games that they're, or 13 games that they're going to play. If there are no games played this year, if that's the worst case scenario, and I believe you said zip and zip, so that means that Clay Helton or Will Muschamp never played a game. You think they're going to be able to afford to pay him off and bring in somebody new?
No, it depends on the school, and this is all up for review, and who's still getting paid and all that too. I don't know that every school is going to work this the same. There will be some other factors at play here, many of them political, for the colleges to do it. The athletic departments are going to, of course, they're going to want to play, but in a lot of cases, they could have the brakes slammed on them by the school presidents who are dealing with some other issues here. At least the NFL, it's just a football business. It's not the school business, and that's all they're worried about is football. So they're going to be able to move a bit more nimbly here. The athletic departments still exist within a bigger enterprise and the institution of colleges and universities. So they have to, independently as they operate, they're still part of that. So that's why there's going to be a little bit more red tape for the colleges to get through. I hope it doesn't get to that. But I'm just thinking they could have a few. And I think they've got less flexibility to move some things around than the NFL does as well.
We're talking,
I don't know. We're
talking 85% of the revenues from college athletic budgets come from football. Yes. And I read today many different scenarios, including if you can't really get it started until late, let's just even say October or even November, that there is consideration that they would make it a fall and finish in the spring sport.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it's possible they could do that, and go through the winter. And we're in uncharted. This is causing some uncharted things here. So it's possible that could happen. But I do think for the rest of this year, the normal. Well, we'll see about football. We know the calendars for basketball and hockey are going to be altered, and there's a very good chance they could for football and baseball too. There's a hope that baseball could get back by 4th of July. The one thing baseball has not indicated it's willing to do yet is play in front of empty houses. I'm not sure the NFL would do that either. That's something I think all these leagues are going to have to think about. The NBA seems like it's more willing to do that, and so that's but in the NBA's case, they're talking about playing all the games in Las Vegas too. So that's another discussion there. So these sports are doing it a bit differently, but I think one question they're going to have is maybe you can play these games. Do you really want to play them with no fans? And that's going to be a question a lot of the sports are going to have to answer.
Bruce, thank you for your time today. I'm glad to hear you and yours all around the world are doing well. Tell our listeners how they can access more information at the Goal Sheet.
Yeah, check us out on goalsheet.com. I'm putting up some best of stories. I've been, like we mentioned, finished up the college hoops, wrapped up superlatives and the newcomers up there. So that's all there. We're going to have an NFL draft preview within the next week. So I'll put that up there as well. I'll be putting up, and there's some old draft stories I'm going to talk about. In the draft, there's a lot of things in past drafts that are interesting too. So I'm going to start writing about some draft tales as well after I do my draft preview coming up in the next week.
Looking forward to it. I love the stories from the Steelers draft room, early 70s. Boy, did they get a lot right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Boy, it's amazing how many of these things link into things years down the road that the draft choices impact things you can always look at those in retrospect, but we got a chance to look in retrospect right now, so why not?
We will. Bruce, thank you, and have a great weekend. We'll visit next Friday. Thank you.
Okay, guys, you too. Take care.
You got it. Bruce Marshall with
Thank
us,
you.
Dave, every Friday.
He is just a guy of gold. He really and truly is. Let me let you know this portion of the show brought to you by the Spirit Shop. We are here on the weekend, and the Spirit Shop is still there for you. They're still open, and they are absolutely going by the letter of the law with, it's considered an essential business, and I can understand why. And they're all about, Eddie Conover's family, all about practicing social distancing, making sure everything is sanitized when they get it to you, and making sure they come out and bring it to you curbside. You can call and order, and if you like, then you can give them your credit card, and you don't have to worry about swiping or handing things off, and then they'll bring your stuff to you and put it in your car, and that's what they did for me a couple of weeks ago, and then you just take it out of your car and then put it in your house. Make sure you do clean off everything, because that's the way we're supposed to practice all of this, making sure that everything is sanitized. And they go along with that 100%. But they're still in business. Again, you can call them or stop by 4848 Poplar in St. Nick, that little log cabin, and just pull up there, tell them what you want, and they'll do the rest. They are full service all the way for you. That is the Spirit Shop. We take a time out. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. The East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
A heart in my tasty Honey Nut Cheerios? Cereal, you trying to tell me you love me?
Actually, it's reminding you that it can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Wait! They can help lower cholesterol? I've been so focused on the sweet, tasty taste that I completely forgot. Now I'm in love.
Learn more about making Honey Nut Cheerios part of your heart-healthy lifestyle by picking up a box at your local grocery store.
Now, a tournament flashback. In their first ever Final Four last year, Texas Tech showed they had even bigger dreams.
Culver dribbling middle of the floor. 1 minute to play. Culver, three, top of the key. Got it! Cold-blooded Culver! 58-51, Texas Tech by 7.
Jared Culver and the Red Raiders knocked out Michigan State 61-51 in the semifinals for a shot at the grand prize against Virginia.
If you're a pro, Lowe's knows how hard you work every day. So it's important that others are working hard for you. We're here to help with the supplies you need to make critical repairs and the products your customers need to keep their homes safe and healthy during this important time. From our convenient curbside loading to spring savings on the products you need most, our focus is to help keep your business moving forward. Lowe's is pro-ready, and we thank you for all you do.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Hi, I'm Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Five-Ash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Five-Ash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Rounding out hour number 1, hour number 2 starts with Bill Dries, legendary Memphis news reporter with the Daily Memphian. You can text us at 67129 at the First Bank text line or call us at 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. First Bank, they know what you need. You need a reliable, trustworthy Memphis banker. Look, you're trying to wade through all this minutia, all this paperwork to try to get your hands on some of this money, some of this relief money. Let First Bank help you through all this. They know how to do it. They're reliable, they're trustworthy, and they can give you an answer directly right here in Memphis. They make the decisions for you, about you, right here in Memphis. A direct answer from the First Bank banker you're dealing with. They have stories and a record of customers reaching high. Community banks are the preferred lender of people building a success story. Even in these times, there's that opportunity for you to build your success story, and you can do it with First Bank. If you're looking for a great place to deposit your money, try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street Prime, and interest-bearing checking accounts. Go to firstbankonline.com. Visit firstbankonline.com. Dave Dabo Sweeney declared today, we're playing college football come September. He guarantees it.
I know. He not only guaranteed it, but he said he had zero doubt and that it'll start on time and we'll have packed stands. I don't know.
Dabo, I hope you're right.
I love Dabo, and I'll listen to Dabo when he wants to tell me anything about football and offense. I'm all ears, but I'm going to wait for the doctors to tell me everything else. I don't see how in the world we're going to start on time. I hope I'm wrong.
I do too.
I really do.
I hope I'm wrong.
But I think Dabo
I love optimism.
Say, I'm going to go with that plan. I think he, sort of clarified a little bit later. He was sure this was going to happen, but that's his job, is to just go as if that's going to happen. And I hope he's right, but I'm looking at it legitimately here.
Dabo also declared a few years ago that whenever we start paying the players even a smaller stipend, he's out of here. He's through. He's still coaching, and we're paying the players.
Yeah, and there's no way that he would walk away, even if we start paying the players even more. I thought that you mentioned did a great job on that First Bank commercial. But on the First Bank text line, one of the more cute takes that we've had in a while, a guy writes, or gal, I don't know who it is, says, if we're still in the first inning of this, it's time for a pitching change.
Well, I agree with him, but right now we got to go with our starter. Go, Dr. Fauci. You got to pitch out of this.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I'm going to listen to him with whatever he has to say. I thought that was interesting that Dabo actually came out and said that he felt that there was zero doubt in his mind we would start on time.
Very interesting. I love optimism. I think I think you are too, Dave, are optimistic, but it's grounded in realism. It's grounded in facts. This is no longer just hope. We had that. I was playing the optimistic game. Drew, remember? I'm going to say one night when I jokingly said I'm going to continue to live my life and go to the games until I am met with further proof, irrefutable proof from scientists, doctors, governmental officials that tell me differently. Well, guess what? All that group told me differently, and I have changed some of the things I'm doing. And I, as a throwaway line, I said, knowing my luck, I'll be the first person in Shelby County to pass from it. That was in the heyday of optimism. And it was way over there, and it's not going to happen to us. It has happened. I don't know how you can deny it, and on a day that in New York City over 500 people have died.
Bottom line is I thought I was being conservative, and I said the first week we'll have sports will be the July 4th weekend. Part of me really wanted that for the FedEx St. Jude World Golf Classic. And that's the week that we would have that. And it's the 4th of July. It would have been a great coming out party for the entire nation. We're back. We're normal. But now when you read and you listen to Dr. Jane and Dr. Haushalter and Dr. Fauci on a national
Centers
basis.
for Disease Control, World Health Organization, Mayo Clinic, MD Anderson. I mean, you go through them.
Just listen to what our guys here are saying, that a month from now, we'll still be surging. A month from now, we will be still surging. That gets us into May. And then hopefully we start to come out of it. But as the very, very wise doctor from the NFL, Dr. Sills, says, we've got to be sure whenever we start playing games that everybody's still healthy. And we can't take a chance on that. So we've got to have a test that gives you pretty quick results, and they've got to be distributed all across the country. Is that going to be ready in time for the National Football League to start camps in July?
And, Dave, all those people did not go to medical school to sign up to be a part of groupthink.
No.
They just did not.
I want to be as optimistic as possible, but I think it's our duty to be as realistic as possible.
I'm going to make a pledge right now. At Clemson, they have their fundraising arm is IPTAY. It used to be I pay $10 a year. Now it's I pay $1,000 a year. I ain't paying $1,000. If Dabo's right, I'll pay $10. I'll send IPTAY a donation.
There you go.
Dave, 1 hour in the books. When we come back, we start it with a very special guest. We are really honored to have Bill Dries, the consummate newsman around town, has been forever. He will join us to start hour number 2 on this Friday. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
So are you the type of guy that wants to look put together but doesn't want to spend hours shopping? I hear you. This is why there's Stitch Fix, your personal styling service that delivers hand-picked clothes right to you. Stitch Fix is simple and convenient. Sign up in just a few minutes. Try new styles in the comfort of your own home. And there's no subscription required ever. So, isn't it time to refresh your look? Get started today at StitchFix.com. Stitch Fix, personal styling for everybody.
The landscape is so beautiful at Town Village Audubon Park. Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. Looking for a great place to retire, but you still have a very active lifestyle? Then visit Town Village. Only requirements that you're 55 plus. Prices per month starting at $24.50. The Gourmet Chef welcomes you to visit our restaurant and bistro. Package includes 3 complimentary meals per day, maid service, free local transportation, monthly coffee club, themed dinner parties, lots of fun. Visit us and call Daniel or Bo at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home. Town Village Audubon Park.
Hey, sports fans, you already know the Butcher Shop has been a great Memphis tradition since 1981, and it still is. The Butcher Shop is absolutely open for your takeout with curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery because the Butcher Shop is still serving your favorite steaks, fish, and seafood. But now you can also pick them up raw and take them home to cook. You get the highest quality from the Butcher Shop and the comfort of home cooking. All wine and beer selections can be sold and picked up curbside as well. Plus, order curbside and pickup and receive 10% off your food order. And how about Burger Fridays? Treat your company to lunch, and the Butcher Shop will deliver Hamburger Friday any day of the week with all the fixins for just a minimum $250 order. The Butcher Shop is here for you, so don't worry about getting a great meal. The Butcher Shop has cooked or uncooked meals for curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery. Call 757-4244 or online at thebutchershop.com. The Butcher Shop at the Agri Center, Walnut Grove, and Germantown Parkway.
If you're a pro, Lowe's knows how hard you work every day. So it's important that others are working hard for you. We're here to help with the supplies you need to make critical repairs and the products your customers need to keep their homes safe and healthy during this important time. From our convenient curbside loading to spring savings on the products you need most, our focus is to help keep your business moving forward. Lowe's is pro-ready, and we thank you for all you do.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me Saturdays 8 to 9 a.m. for Sidelines here on Sports 56 WHBQ, 87.7 FM and 96.1. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, and your favorite team. Give us a call. That's Sidelines, Saturday mornings, 8 to 9 a.m. Sidelines is presented by Duncan Williams Asset Management. So get up and give us a call.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Hour 2 starts now on this Friday, April 3rd, 2020. The official news from the Preakness, they have postponed until the fall, trying to find a date in the fall. It will not go off third weekend in May. We knew that one was coming for a while. Dave, we're either going to have a very, very busy fall or it's going to be a very sad one.
Well, it could be incredibly busy. Again, I go by the logic and think about vaccines and how close we are before I can really see us all getting back to any semblance of the normalcy that we know. We'll get some other views of that in just a minute. In fact, from the incredible Bill Dries from the Daily Memphian, he's going to join us here in just a minute. I'll let you know this hour of the program is presented by Genesis of Olive Branch. You've heard me talk about my G90. There's the G70. That's a sports car with a back seat. You've heard me talk about all the technology and all of the safety instruments that they have on this. You cannot move to another lane. If you hit a button, it won't let you go. It warns you all different ways. There's the intelligent drive mode. There's the all-wheel drive mode. There's sport mode. There's so many different modes. You got to kind of read the book, but they really make this safe, and it handles so well. And it lasts forever. With every new Genesis car that you get from Genesis of Olive Branch, you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. And then if you do business with Genesis of Olive Branch, I think they are the benchmark. That's the standard for the way car business should be done. And I ask you to go find out for yourself. Get on Lamar into Mississippi. It's Highway 78. Then at Craft Road, the very first exit, you turn left and you'll see Genesis of Olive Branch. And just go in and say, hey, Chris True, I want to test drive. I want to take it for a couple of hours. And they'll say, go ahead, get to know the car. And then you'll fall in love, and then you'll want to buy a Genesis from Genesis of Olive Branch. Bill Dries, he is a reporter for the Daily Memphian. I think we worked together double-digit years. I can't remember how many at WREC. And you have always been so passionate about your craft and worked so hard at it. I've always appreciated what you do. And I really wanted to get you on because you've been one of the lead guys on this story for the Daily Memphian since the pandemic broke out. So let's start with today before we go backwards here, Bill. Thank you for joining us, and let me know what exactly has happened in your world today.
Well, today's been pretty much like the others. Nothing you can really plan for. Some briefings. There were a few changes. The one that's probably the most notable is that the city is talking to store owners who run essential businesses under the city's state of civil emergency about not allowing more than 10 people in a store at a time. So that's an adjustment on the terms of this state of civil emergency. The official count from the Shelby County Health Department is 640 confirmed cases in Shelby County, and 8 people have died in Shelby County from this pandemic.
Incredible, Bill. And Bill, I thought a lot of the verbiage, some of the word use by political leaders, national, local, national, state, and federal, I think they've done everything they can, Bill. Have you noticed? Tell me if you noticed this, or it's just me. Everything they can not to use some of those code words from days gone by. They haven't used curfew. They haven't used. They don't want to get near martial law. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, this started with Mayor Jim Strickland in his initial declaration of simply a state of emergency last month, and he was very clear to point out that this is not like a state of emergency that we last saw here in Memphis 42 years ago, exactly, during the 1978 strikes by police and firefighters. That's why he has insisted on calling this a safer at home order as opposed to going with the legal verbiage on it.
Bill, let me clarify this new edict from the mayor today, and I've not seen the story yet, but he's saying he's asking even essential businesses, and I'm assuming that means Kroger, that means Walgreens, that there will be no more than 10 customers in a business at one time?
That yes. Businesses, the order is having no more than 10 in groups. It would not apply to grocery stores and limit them to 10 people at one time because they are such big areas, and they have to adhere to the 6-foot distancing rule. And the rules at some of the supermarkets, depending on which you go to, have kind of been all over the place. And I think what you're going to see, if you haven't seen it already, is they're going to all start singing from the same hymn book here, because some of the stores I've been in, when you check out, they have lines marked for 6 feet between folks waiting in line. Some of them don't. At some stores, you see a lot of entire families coming out to shop. Just this week, the supermarket started saying, please, when you come to buy what you need, you come, don't bring the whole family with you. It's really an odd circumstance because going to the supermarket has now become, for some people, the way that they get out and socialize in this very strange environment that we're in. But again, 10 people does not apply to the grocery stores.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Bill, when I asked earlier about the word use, the verbiage, I wasn't, and you sure weren't either. I wasn't knocking anybody because I know how word usage has changed. I mean, we used to kind of just euphemistically say policeman. Well, now it's police officer. So things have changed, and that may be one of the good things. I do notice this about locally and nationally. It has been a lot more rather than less. It's been pressers. It's been availability. I mean, the mayor's been great to us. He's been great to everybody around town. They really want to get their message out. This is no clandestine sitting behind a desk writing it out story for them, is it?
No, it's not. And in fact, this is such a huge story and will continue to be for the foreseeable future that really our day here revolves around a 2 p.m. Briefing by the Shelby County Health Department that we actually carry live on our website. And then you have at least a 3 p.m. release from the mayor's office and an email update of some kind, which is also on his website. If he's going to ratchet up the conditions on this, which he has periodically, he will usually call a press conference for that. Yesterday at about 3 o'clock, we had a live briefing from Dr. Manoj Jain, who is one of the infectious disease experts who is consulting with the city, and Doug McGowan, the chief operating officer for the city. And they were both there at 3 o'clock to explain a bit more about these 1,000 plus new hospital beds that the city is working on with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So it's a pretty regular time frame that's a little bit later. It's not first thing in the morning. It's usually about mid-afternoon. And, man, when things start happening, you can make it to 6 o'clock without having time to catch your breath.
In the blink of an eye, time can move quickly. Yesterday at about 3:30, we had the mayor on with us, and he let us know there were only 250 ventilators that the city of Memphis had in its possession at the moment. If you can, and I know this is speculative, but paint a picture for me of what you think we are going to see around Memphis in 2 weeks when, as the governor has said, we will see this surge.
I think what you're going to see is that some of the state help for the city will have started to kick in by then. The governor has said we need 7,000 additional hospital beds statewide to deal with this, and 1,000 of those, at least 1,000 of those, will be here in Memphis. The communication between this city and the governor's administration in Nashville, I think, has really started to work well. Congressman Steve Cohen, one of the two congressmen whose district covers the city, and David Kustoff being the other in the 8th District, they are both working with the White House and working with Congress so that the flow of aid from the federal government reaches where it needs to be here. And all of them are making the case to Washington and Nashville that in Memphis, historically, the hospitals and the healthcare community here have been the hospitals and doctors who have been used by people not just in Shelby County, but in rural West Tennessee and eastern Arkansas and North Mississippi. And certainly no one expects that is going to be any different when this pandemic reaches surge level locally.
Bill, did you ever think you'd cover a pandemic?
I did not. This is actually my second state of emergency. I was around for the one in 78, which as we talked about earlier, was much different. But a pandemic, this is the kind of stuff that you read novels about or that you see television shows about, and it's spellbinding when you're reading it in a book. When you're living through it, you're ready for it to be over after about 24 hours, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's really no end in sight. Bill, can you ever remember a story where you checked every box: politics, business, sports, religion, pop culture, public safety? No, those don't come along too often. But I will tell you that from having been doing this a while, I learned a little while ago, not too far back there, but a little bit ago, that really
I'm still covering the biggest story that I've ever covered, and that is the life of this city.
Well, this is a big part of the life of the city. I arrived in 81. I think I was working with you in about 84 or 85. And I can't remember a story with more tentacles and more impact than this one has. I am so worried for 2 weeks from now when those hospitals get full. I really can't imagine what it will totally be like. I know one thing. I am certainly abiding by the decisions that are made by Dr. Jane and Dr. Haushalter, and I will listen to every medical person and heed their advice. I think that will be critical in this particular case. I'm going to ask you what you think about the leadership that we've seen so far from both the city mayor, the county mayor, and the two medical personnel, Haushalter and Jane, that I mentioned.
I think the reaction here locally has been really on the same page since day one, and Mayor Strickland has really set the tone for that, and it's been a tone that is designed to get your attention. I think he realizes that starting out there were probably some people who didn't take this seriously, and I think that to be honest with you, that was a function of what people were seeing from some state leaders here, as well as leaders on the federal level, and so I think he felt like he had to counteract that without kind of stepping into the political arena with him and trying to go tit for tat on it. Mm-hmm. But I think he felt like he had to establish it. So the response here has been coordinated. It's come together really fast as these things go in government circles, and it's had a sense of urgency basically since the day that the World Health Organization said this was a global pandemic.
Bill, you kind of alluded to it. There's this thing about politics and politicians. Well, they are always politicians, and they're always in the field of politics. But I do not think that Mayor Strickland has been at all political. I think he has led, and he is not worried about the optics of it.
That's where the smart money among political leaders has been. Don't play this like you would normally play it, because this is a very different experience for people, and they are looking for something different than the typical responses that you see in day-to-day life in politics.
Yeah, I don't really want to see a big cat fight right now with mayor and council, or mayor in various constituencies and political groups. Right now, I want to see what I'm seeing, and that's leadership, and it's been without. He hadn't done it with the George W. Bush bullhorn moment. He's done it very steady and very soberly.
Well, it's also a balancing act too, because what comes first in all this is dealing with the pandemic, but pretty close behind it is the tremendous blow to a local economy that just several weeks ago was booming. And that's what you're starting to see some more attention come to by all of these leaders is, okay, while we're dealing with that, while we're preparing for the surge, we need to be also collecting our thoughts about how to turn this economy back on and how to do it the right way and how to help people. And some of this is based on the experience of some of these folks who really know the financial world really well, and lessons learned from the Great Recession that started in 2008.
I do think there will be lessons learned from 2008 that could help us to a quicker recovery. At least I certainly hope that is the case. And Harris and Strickland have worked together so well. Do you think there was pressure put on? I know Steve Cohen was critical of Governor Bill Lee on CNN a couple of nights ago, and then the governor, who was getting a lot of grief from many of the national pundits, changed his stay-at-home from urging to a mandate. Do you think the governor's response has been as quick as maybe it should have been?
I think he has had his critics of his response. I think that he has had a somewhat different mindset than watching the count of the cases daily. But I think he's faced bipartisan pressure to ratchet this up from Democrats like Steve Cohen, who is always very upfront about his opinions. But he's also faced it from some of the Republican legislators from rural parts of the state that are now starting to feel this, and areas where the hospital that was in some of those small communities not too long ago, maybe several years ago, has closed, So that I think was an important moment. For the record, Governor Lee's position on this is that he changed it because he looked at some data from cell phone calls, from where cell phones were pinging. He looked at some traffic data on the state's highways and determined that he didn't think that enough Tennesseans were taking the voluntary effort seriously, so he pulled the switch on the mandatory order.
Last thing for Bill Dries, reporter from the Daily Memphian, and we only got about a minute. So, Bill, let's say we surge and we get through this in May. From the perspective of the local economy, just a hunch, I know you're speculating, how fast do you think it will be before we recover?
Well, we had Kevin Kane on our show Behind the Headlines on WKNO this week, and he thinks just for the tourism economy, which may be the bulk of the people who lost their jobs just like that it might not be until 2022 until things are back to normal there.
Bill Dries, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll stay in touch with you. We really are grateful for your time.
I look forward to it.
Thank you, Bill. And I love that show on KNO.
Me too. And Kevin Kane tells it like it is.
He does.
And so
and Dave, I think that's refreshing right now. And while I would like to be a lot more sunshiny and optimistic than maybe we have been, and this week has been the worst yet. Next week may be worse than this week. I think it is very important right now to speak honestly and candidly with people, and especially those in Washington and in Nashville and in our leadership here. I don't think it's a time for the catfighting, the studio wrestling aspect of politics, but I do think it's a time to speak up and to speak honestly.
I do, and that's why, as I said, I certainly don't mean to be pessimistic at all. I think if anybody knows me throughout all these years, I'm pretty much a half full kind of a glass guy. But when I just look around, and despite the Dabo Swinney comments of today, which were really overly positive, I think you have to look a little closer to what Dr. Alan Sills, the chief medical officer for the NFL, is saying. We got a long way to go, and I'll go back again. I hope I'm wrong on this, but I'm not going to be shocked if we don't go back to normalcy until we have a vaccine that works. And that's a year away.
Dave,
it would not shock me if you and I are doing a show together and we say day 322 of no sports.
It wouldn't surprise me either. Not at all. Dave, all of us have been in that situation at the hospital with a family member, and people mean it well. Your friends come by, and maybe a doctor friend of another specialty comes by, and they'll offer kind of tips and things you should do. My theory on that has always been I'm going to go with the guys in the white jackets. I'm going to go with the attending physician. If I'm at the hospital for a loved one and they're having a back issue, I'm going to go with the orthopedist, what he's having to say. I'm not going to go with my buddy that's heard about a home remedy.
I'll repeat what I said earlier. I'll listen to Dabo Swinney when it comes to football.
That's right.
But when it comes to this, I'm listening to Dr. Fauci and I'm listening to Dr. Jane.
Amen. After this break, we'll listen to our friend Peter Edmiston from Sports 56 Mornings with C.J. Hurt, and from The Athletic, we'll talk NBA and all topics with him, Dave.
I look forward to that for sure. This portion of the show brought to you by the commissary. That's the Germantown commissary. That's the Collierville commissary. We've referenced Walker Taylor because he was so kind to be with us the other day, and Walker Taylor is keeping both of his barbecue stores open. The newest one, the Collierville Commissary at Poplar and Houston Levee Road, has a drive-through. That's real simple. You could still call in early if you want to, but all you have to do is go drive-through, and it is simple, and they have everything on the menu. They're still serving the ribs, the pulled shoulder, the chicken, the tamales, the banana pudding. They should call it Brett's Icebox Lemon Pie.
Lemon Icebox.
They will, but they
Icebox,
should.
yeah.
He loves that so much. They've got it. And the same thing, now you have to go curbside in Germantown, but they still are serving there for takeout, and he's doing everything he can.
That's a great way to
keep
get
all
away
of his
from this
employees
stress.
busy.
Great way. This weekend, I know everybody, you may be getting tired of all the family, but escape to the commissary.
They'll love you for it. Escape to the commissary, bring it back to them, and you'll see a little joy in your family's eyes.
You will for sure. When we come back, we'll have some joy with our friend Peter Edmondson from Sports 56 Mornings with Peter and CJ. That's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1 FM.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Shelby Forest General Store, Let It Fly, Moon Dance Grill, Great Wines, Germantown Wines and Liquors, Corks Wines and Liquors. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
There are so many stories from this, and some of them so very sad. And I'm sorry to say that I do not know David Johnson that runs the 24/7 site at Ole Miss. He has done it for a long time. I'm sorry to say our paths have just not crossed. His son, Eli Johnson, is the starting center on the Ole Miss football team. Was a high school star there in Oxford and has been a really solid college football player. Both of his parents, David and his mother, were hospitalized with COVID-19. David Johnson is not doing well. This post about an hour ago from Eli Johnson's sister, David Johnson's daughter, Sydney, she posted this. This might be the last time I come to ask for prayers for my sweet daddy. This infection has just overtaken his body. I know I felt comfort and peace this week through the power of prayer. I need my dad to feel how loved he is. I need him to know that everything will be okay no matter what. He is going through something that no one should ever have to experience alone. We should be there with him, and we can't even pick up the phone to call him. It is heartbreaking. If you would please cover him in love and prayers, I can never thank you enough. He is gravely, gravely ill. And I am sorry to say, through the years, Dave, I have not known David, but I know Eli Johnson. Know him mostly because he's a center for Ole Miss, but I've met him. I don't know him well, but his mother is recuperating, and his dad very, very gravely ill. Very sad.
I'm just so sad for anybody who is going to lose their life because of this disease. And obviously it hits home when there are people that you know. I really did not know, although I had a lot of mutual friends with Dan Spector. Mm-hmm. But that hit me very, very hard. A week ago, and this time I lost a dear friend, and the reason I know that is I had to take care of some business and couldn't talk with Peter Edmiston, who's about to join us.
That's right. It was understandable. We knew.
Pardon?
We knew, Dave, and we understood last week.
Yeah,
and we're all going to face that. I mean, this one's going to be one of those that we're not going to escape it's not going to be 6 degrees of separation. It's going to hit really close to home.
It is. I am certain that just about everybody listening with us, if I hear the doctors, Fauci and Jane and Haushalter correctly, in 2 to 4 weeks, there are going to be people that we know, that every one of us who's listening will know in some form that we will lose. And that, to me, is the scariest thing of all.
It is. Our friend Peter Edmiston joins us now from Sports 56 Mornings with C.J. Hurt and from The Athletic. Peter, tonight will be missed game number 12 for the Memphis Grizzlies. Would have hosted the Dallas Mavericks, Rick Carlisle's Mavericks. They were pretty set for the playoffs. Would have hosted them tonight with a Sunday game number 13 they will miss, would have been at Portland. That will be big. That doesn't seem as big now as it did, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. I was listening to your discussion about everybody kind of, just an awful story with the Johnson families going through, but a lot of people are going through this kind of thing. And it was reminding, there's a friend of mine who was talking. He worked in the gas industry, and they had talked about some of the difficulties of their line of work and stock issues and all kinds of stuff. This was years and years ago when they had that oil spill, the most famous one up in Alaska, the Valdez and all that. And they were already dealing with major stock issues and money issues and everything else. And they were talking back and forth to each other. And one guy says, everything is down and everything's hurting. And we haven't had our first oily bird yet. And he said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, as soon as somebody sees that oily bird, it brings it home to them in a way that it doesn't realize first. And this is going to be one of those situations where we all have somebody close to us who is that type of thing, where it's not a metaphor. It's not a broad-based thing. It's something that's close to home. It's something that hits right at your heart. It's something that touches you in a personal way, your own personal oily bird, whether that's someone that you love personally, whether that's someone that you just know of or a fan of. There's musicians, there's athletes, there's all kinds of people that we've lost already, and unfortunately, there's going to be many more because the trajectory of this thing being what it is. The possibility of 100,000 to 200,000 deaths is too much to even imagine, but that's certainly on the table based on what we've seen, and so everyone's going to have that. And as you point out, everyone is going to have that oily bird, that something that's close to them, someone that they love, someone they cherish, something that they think is incredibly special. and it's going to hit home, and that's why the scope of this thing. I always find it. We talk about resuming sports and resuming all this stuff, and I would love to do all that, but it's in the middle of this is a war footing. This is a war footing. This is a unique time, and so it feels real premature to be talking about that kind of stuff, because I just don't think, even if we could do it, I don't know that everyone's going to be in the frame of mind and the mood. If you're talking 2-3 months down the line, when you're talking about tens of thousands of people dying and hundreds of thousands more having been hospitalized and going through it, and everyone dealing with the back end of a potential economic depression and all kinds of stuff that's happening, I don't know that you're all of a sudden say, by God, I've got to finish up this regular season in the NBA, or just what is that? What does that even, in the scheme of things that we're talking about right now? What does that mean really? And when it's all said and done.
I agree, and I've used the parallel that we're in the bottom of the first. It may be more apropos at some point, and I said earlier in the week, Peter, that we may be into World War III. And if this is World War II, this could be early 1942, when a lot of people may not realize this now. We were losing. The specter of defeat was very real. And it's when they asked, I think it was General Marshall, someone asked, do we have, and he didn't know. He truly did not know. And I think it was in the early stages of the Manhattan Project and the atomic bomb. But they asked him, do we have a super top secret special weapon to get out of this? And he said, no, we don't. But we do have the best damn kids on Earth. We do have the best medicine on Earth. But we might be early 1942 in this, if this is World War II.
Well, and that's the thing is we just don't know, and you don't know what it's going to look like on the other end. You don't know. We can have some projections about how long this thing's going to last. We can see what happens in other countries, but the problem is that unlike a war, even unlike a national tragedy like 9/11 or a natural disaster like the San Francisco earthquake or the tornadoes that have swept through of late, or even Katrina, those things all had horrible outcomes, and we've had tremendous loss of life in all of them. But in all of those cases, you had a finite beginning, middle, and end eventually to this. I don't know if we're going to have that finite end. You can say, hey, we've recovered enough from the floods of Katrina to be able to welcome back our teams into town, to be able to have people come and watch sports again. We've been able to recover from this disaster. We've been able to rebuild our buildings from the tornado. We've been able to recover psychologically and from a security standpoint to the terrorist threats or whatever it may have been with 9/11 and with the Oklahoma City bombing. There isn't a hard and fast day to say, well, we got this virus completely under control and we're good to go. And they don't tell you that. You don't see that. There's not a thing. It's just you're going to have to find out at some point whether that is a vaccine, whether that is a treatment, whether something will happen. But even when we take these little baby steps back into doing normal sports stuff, it's not going to be easy because you're one. If you look, Brian Winters did a piece on trying to bring the Chinese Basketball Association back. They've been out for 3 or 4 months, and they can't do it because you're one positive test away. I mean, they've already, think about this, they've already canceled Wimbledon. You've already canceled, or you're going to cancel the RNA will cancel the Open Championship. And from Wimbledon perspective, like tennis is about as easy a sport I would think as any. Taking apart the idea that you are bringing people internationally, that is always tricky. But in terms of executing a sport, it's 2 people. You could even cancel the doubles if you're concerned about that distance there. It's one person on one side of a net. You literally have a net that's keeping you socially distant. You got the referee that's sitting up on high, so that the referee is 6 feet apart. You could have it with no fans. that seems like, okay, that's about as easy a sport to do it social distance wise as you could get. And they've already said by the time early July rolls around, we're still not going to be able to do that. So if you can't do that, I feel like talking about football and other sports, just a few weeks later, that still seems awful optimistic to me.
Well, I go back to, and you've touched on it just a little bit as you spoke, Peter. I truly don't believe, and I use my own self as an example. Would I want my kids to go to a sporting event right now, or my wife, or my family, any loved ones that I have, or for that matter, good friends? No, I wouldn't. And I don't think anybody will want to. We could stage some for television only. Tennis might work. Actually, golf would work too, because you're just talking about people with cameras out in the open. And honestly, it's a better sport televised than it is at the venue. But the bottom line is, until we have a vaccine that we know works, that battles against the spread of the disease, and you don't get sick because you are now immune, that's when we'll return to normalcy. I just don't know that we'll do that until we have a vaccine that we know works and has been tested, and we know that means we're talking about a year.
Yeah, I mean, a year is, we don't know. A year would be very fast for this stuff. I mean, a lot of times we've had false dawns on some of these things. Some stuff looks like it might work. Some stuff doesn't work as well. We've just had an inconsistent approach from a national standpoint as far as how people have handled this, state to state, governor to governor. It has not helped. That has not helped at all. Obviously, the very highly publicized fight for medical equipment has not helped. There's just so many things that have put us behind the eight ball in this thing, and that's why we've trended closer to what Italy looked like rather than what like South Korea looked like, and that's going to extend it even more. And I'd said it, I don't know, however many weeks ago, but only just moments ago, I saw Alabama's Governor Kay Ivey finally issued a stay-at-home order that will go into effect shortly. Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp, my God, the audacity
needs to read the newspaper.
I mean, that is to me, just about something that should
dereliction.
Put you under. You should be under some kind of an arrest or something to be able to have the audacity to publicly say we didn't know. I didn't know until just 24 hours ago.
Turn on TV.
Thing. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like that's
well, he's been ripped by national media for the last 3 days. I don't know where he was.
And I mean, this is the thing. Like it would be funny if it didn't mean you're sharing the same state as the CDC, for God's sake, and you're costing lives. Like that's people's lives. Like this is real life, as you just talked about leading into the segment. This is real life.
Yeah, this isn't a policy disagreement.
This
Peter.
isn't like a policy. Yeah, this isn't a policy thing of like
I want tax cuts and you don't. Yeah.
I mean, it would be bad if you cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, that's terrible. We wouldn't want that. But these are lives, man. Yeah. These are lives, and so I mean that's it's breathtaking. Like that's just breathtaking incompetence on a human scale that's just hard to comprehend, and we're dealing with that on a big time level. If we could have just gotten SEC coaches to get together at a coaches meeting at a teleconference and just say, y'all stay at home. If you want to watch if you want to watch college football this year, you're going to have to stay home for 2 weeks at least. 3 weeks, probably 4 weeks.
Yeah,
who knows? But you could have done that 2 or 3 weeks ago and had Saban and had Kirby and had Leach and
all
Kiffin
14 and a big PSA
Ed and whoever. Yeah. Exactly. And there's no more effective way to keep people at home than to let them understand you are not only affecting your lives, but if that's not enough, you're affecting your football. And I think now we're seeing that a lot of the states that are going to be hardest hit are going to be the ones that are going to want that SEC football, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to get it this year.
One thing coming out of this going forward, and I joked several years ago, Peter, it's kind of inside joke here with me and Drew. Dave knows about it, but with Rob Fisher, well, several Octobers ago on a 70-degree, not a cloud in the sky, October day, I came in here just proud as punch that I'd gone out here to Lowe's and bought 3 big old turbo bags of rock salt for the coming ice storm that winter, and they all grief me to no end. Rob would text me just just non sequitur. You got any rock salt left? I don't think I've used 1/16 of one bag of it since then. It was like the anti-shield for ice storms. But going forward, are we going to laugh as much at the preppers? Are we going to laugh as much at that governor that goes in front of his legislature and we're going to buy X gear for this? We may never, ever use it, but we're going to have it at warehouses spread out across the state with PPE and maybe MREs and maybe things for the next one. Would a legislature take that person seriously now?
I think they would take it seriously for ventilators and toilet paper. To me, it's still amazing that I see all these ads all the time that you can go get lettuce now, you can go get ground beef now, but you still can't get toilet paper. That to me is amazing. And then when the mayor told us yesterday on this show that we only had 250 ventilators, that scared the dickens out of me.
Well, and that's where policy decisions over the course of many, many years have come into play. I mean, this is it has been exacerbated by terrible leadership as it's happened on a lot of fronts. But it's truly been exacerbated from terrible leadership for decades leading up to it. This is a failure on a huge scale involving lots and lots and lots of people and the system itself, really. And so to answer your question, Brett, yeah, I mean, I think people, the old saying, should be never let a crisis go to waste. In this case, it never let the ability to have a lesson be unlearned. This is one where when we get into a situation where we are past it, whenever that is, we have to remember and we have to think. And it doesn't mean you got to.
And we have to be curious.
But I mean, but again, like, okay, so the reaction has to also make sense. I mean, we lost a whole lot of life on 9/11. I mean, one of the most horrendous days in this nation, in the world's history. You're talking nearly 4,000 lives. And we spent and cost lives upon lives more and trillions of dollars more to fight some undetermined situation that we're still fighting to some extent. Doesn't seem really to have had much of an idea of what we were really going for there, and not really seem to have much of an impact in the 20 or so years since then. That's a situation where we just reacted to it. And you look back now and we made so many mistakes that were so costly on so many levels. You can't learn that kind of a lesson either. You can't take this and turn it into massive waste and massive disastrous and lurching from one crisis to the other. That being said, we've already lost almost 6,000 people. So we will probably, by the time the numbers come out later on tonight, we'll probably be close to double.
We have lost, Peter. I'm looking at the Corona dashboard as we speak. 7,000 people we have lost in New York. We've lost almost 3,000 people. We lost 400 people in New York City today.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Dave. It's we look at the reaction for 9/11, and it was an enormous loss of life, and it was hard to even fathom at the time. And we're at double, and we'll be at triple by the end of the weekend, and that's where exponential growth comes in, and that's what these logarithmic curves that we talk about. That's what it means when you get to the upper end of it. Is you're talking doubling every 2.5, 3 days. So what it is now, double it. And when it starts to get real big, we'll double that real big number. And it becomes a really, really big number. And it gets real scary real fast. That's where we are right now. So I don't think people have come to grips mentally with what that means, that sheer amount of lost life and what we are doing to these incredible heroes on the front lines of this thing who this is not what they signed up for. They didn't realize they were going to be in war. They didn't realize they were going to be in triage units on the front lines with frankly terrible equipment. I mean, we seem to have no problem outfitting our military personnel, and that's as it should be. But yet we can't outfit our medical personnel.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got other countries.
A Central Park field unit. How about that?
Yeah, Yeah, every people are going in looking like, in other nations, they're going in with what look like spacesuits, and they look great, and they're covered up completely. And we send people in with inadequate equipment. We should be ashamed of ourselves, and that's going to require a lot of self-reflection, because these heroes, not only are they fighting, many of them are fighting a battle that they themselves are going to have and probably end up dying from when all is said and done, because we couldn't protect them. I'm proud and extremely gracious and thankful for what they're doing, but it shouldn't have to require that level of sacrifice from them.
Peter, stay well, stay brave, and look out for your family, and we'll be listening.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll visit next Friday. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Peter Edmondson with us every Friday afternoon. And, Dave, it does ring really true when you see that field unit in Central Park and you hear the Seattle Seahawks home stadium being turned into the same thing. We hear of the debate of will or they won't at FedEx Forum.
We know it's not FedEx Forum. It's actually going to be in a shopping center on Jackson Avenue.
Yep.
And just to think of that is incredible in its own right, that we are building a temporary 1,000-bed hospital in this day and age.
And we do appreciate the Corps of Engineers for what the work they're doing, but I'm with Peter on the examination after the fact. We're going to have a long one. We're going to close out this hour, and we'll examine it as we round out this hour. We visit with Andy Schiffman to start hour number 3 on this Friday afternoon. You're listening to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char-broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We baste our ribs on a plate and sprinkle our season all over them.
So Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis, in the alley since 1948.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Well, you can't believe everything on social media these days. You can believe it's possible to start a new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. From the comfort of your own home, even if you have zero computer experience. Instead of waiting, take control of your future now. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Helping people start an IT career is what we do. Many graduates could do little more than turn their computer on and off before they get started. Live online classes, meet just twice a week. Get what you'll need to start your new career. More than just a school, My Computer Career helps you get into the industry by working with hundreds of employers that hire our students. My Computer Career is nationally accredited. Financial aid's available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill. Online classes start soon, so go take the free career evaluation today at mycomputercareer.edu. Not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
One of the safest bets of the weekend. Tomorrow would be National Semifinal Day, and between the games, they usually roll out the announcement for the Basketball Hall of Fame. One of the safest bets of the weekend, when they make the announcement tomorrow, Kobe Bryant's going in.
No doubt. Oh, yeah. I think they would waive anything. It will be unanimous, and Kobe will be remembered once again. No doubt.
And we're waiting to see. I'm really with a lot of anticipation tomorrow to see if Coach Eddie Sutton goes in. If he does, we will have a guest related to that on Monday to talk about his historic career for Coach Eddie Sutton. I hope he goes in. It's a fun day at the Final Four. I was there 2 years ago this weekend in San Antonio, and to see the Hall of Fame honorees. And then, Dave, on Tuesday morning, flying from San Antonio to Atlanta, in the seat immediately to my right was Charlie Scott, and he was announced that weekend. I didn't want to bother him. And so, I never said a word to him until we landed. And I simply said, congratulations. And I saw you in the early 70s in the ABA in Memphis at the Coliseum. He said, you can't be that old. But I wasn't being nosy. I just had the peripheral vision. I couldn't help but see it. But while we were flying from San Antonio to Atlanta, he was texting with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
You mentioned Monday and the possible guest. We have a definite guest at 3:30 on Monday. It will be Dr. Scott Morris, the founder of the Church Health Center, to talk a little bit about all the work they're doing during this pandemic, and also the faith side of it all.
We will. And we'll keep it going on Monday. We'll keep it going in this next hour. We'll start it with our friend Andy Schiffman talking NBA and the possibility of them all assembling in Las Vegas to sort out the rest of this year and maybe the playoffs, maybe even the finals. Fanless, everything contained in Vegas, all things NBA. We'll talk with him about the Hall of Fame as well. Pretty safe bet of the 11 o'clock Central Time Basketball Hall of Fame announcement tomorrow. 1 hour to go. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on AM 560, 87.7 and 96.1.
Farmers Insurance knows that there's a not-so-subtle difference between the sound of a car hitting your rear bumper and the sound of a clown car hitting your rear bumper.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Sorry about that.
We call that a three-ring fender bender, and we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent.
They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
I'm Dr. George Flynn, president of Flynn Broadcasting. On behalf of everyone associated with Flynn Broadcasting, we want to wish you good health, especially in this coronavirus situation. You can be the hero. All you have to do is practice social distancing. That's right, 6 feet away from other people, and you'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Also, if you feel ill and have a cough or fever, get tested so you'll know if you have coronavirus or not. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting. We'll keep you connected while you maintain your physical social distance. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station, because we're in this fight with you, and we're going to help you stay connected.
Hey, sports fans, you already know the Butcher Shop has been a great Memphis tradition since 1981, and it still is. The Butcher Shop is absolutely open for your takeout with curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery, because the Butcher Shop is still serving your favorite steaks, fish, and seafood. But now you can also pick them up raw and take them home to cook. You get the highest quality from the Butcher Shop and the comfort of home cooking. All wine and beer selections can be sold and picked up curbside as well. Plus, order curbside and pickup and receive 10% off your food order. And how about Burger Fridays? Treat your company to lunch, and the Butcher Shop will deliver Hamburger Friday any day of the week with all the fixins for just a minimum $250 order. The Butcher Shop is here for you, so don't worry about getting a great meal. The Butcher Shop has cooked or uncooked meals for curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery. Call 757-4244 or online at thebutchershop.com. The Butcher Shop at the Agri Center, Walnut Grove, and Germantown Parkway. Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include East Memphis Ace Hardware, The Butcher Shop, El Toro Loco on Kirby, Bartlett Small Engines, Spirit Shop Liquor Store, 5 Ash Roofing, Tactical Guns and Ammo, and Wolf Chase Lemon Brace. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sportstime is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Andy Schiffman talking NBA with us at this time every Friday after I tell you about our sponsor of this hour. That's DeSoto Auto Sales, where they specialize in late model cars, low mileage, very high standards at DeSoto Auto Sales. All the cars test-driven, checked out head to toe, bumper to bumper, with an unlimited inventory. Down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road. Check them out online at DeSotoAutosales.com. Every make, every model, if it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales. You walk in, you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid back, down home atmosphere, no high-pressure sales. They care about your time because they know we're living in a world today that time really matters. You walk in within 45 minutes, test drive your car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in time to do it over your lunch hour or immediately after work. 662-890-7184. Again, at 5704 Goodman Road. Check them out online at DeSoto Auto Sales and get down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. Many people on Twitter now reporting that the Hall of Fame class with the announcement for tomorrow has leaked, and it will be Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, all three of those to the shock of absolutely nobody. Others include Tamika Catchings, Kim Mulkey, Barbara Stevens, Rudy Tomjanovich, and Eddie Sutton. So that will be a big day to officially name it tomorrow, but that news leaking this afternoon. We bring Andy Schiffman in to talk NBA and basketball with us. Andy and everybody knew that the late, great Kobe Bryant was going in with Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, but the rest of that class really strong, and I was pulling real hard for Eddie Sutton.
No, absolutely. They're all great candidates. First off, thanks for having me on. But by the way, Stats, are you guys practicing social distancing there in the studio, or is?
Yes, we are.
What's the setup there?
I'm in the studio today, and Dave is at home. I have been home a lot, but it was necessary for me to be out today, so I am in the studio. But I have been from home a lot. I have not seen Dave's face in how long, Dave? A long time. 6, 7 years?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that.
It's killing us. We've made it pretty well. We have not talked over each other any more than we do in the studio, Andy.
That's some great chemistry right there. See, I actually
That's a miracle.
I drove down from Chicago to Memphis recently, so I've been holed up here in Memphis probably for the foreseeable future, just doing the same thing.
Well, glad to have you home even under these trying circumstances, and they are trying.
Along those lines, do you get the sense that are you doing this to be closer to your folks, or do you feel like it's safer here? I know somebody else in Chicago that left. Do you think it's just safer here than it is in Chicago at this point?
A little bit of both, and I'd be remiss, of course, I didn't say it's always great to be around family and great to be around my sister, brother-in-law, niece, parents, obviously. But objectively, it is safer here. I get these alerts, Dave, from, it's called Alert Cook, and it's Cook County where Chicago is, and they send me daily updates on everything going on, and I kind of look back each week as a snapshot to see what the numbers are like. And so the latest yesterday, it said, the last reporting I have was Wednesday at 3:30 from Illinois and Chicago. There are 5,152 confirmed cases in the Chicago area, and total in Illinois, there's almost 7,000. Now, this is 2 days old. Those numbers have continued to increase. Now, I don't know what the numbers are in Tennessee and Memphis, but
I'll give you to you. The numbers
not over 5,000 in Memphis.
No, the numbers in Shelby County are 640, and that was as of about 2:30 or 3 o'clock today.
Wow. So
and the numbers for the state of Tennessee are 3,194. So they are, less than half of what you are getting in Cook County and Chicago.
No, for sure. But Seth, to your point earlier, obviously, let's talk basketball. I think it's a great Hall of Fame class. Just like you said, we're not surprised that, a guy like Kobe and Tim Duncan and Garnett are all headlining this class. I think they're potentially going to even try and find a way when they go through this ceremony to memorialize Kobe for all of time, for an eternity, and potentially make some sort of award or monument in his name and honor. And one of the, you mentioned a lot of the other names, Eddie Sutton for sure, famed coach of Oklahoma State. Who else we got here? I'm trying to think. Kim Mulkey, Barbara Stevens, Rudy Tomjanovich. One thing that I read that I actually dealing a lot with international basketball that I love is they were going to honor the late FIBA Secretary General Patrick Baumann, who was really instrumental in globalizing basketball throughout Europe. Anything as it relates to basketball overseas, he was the face of that, and he died of a heart attack. I believe it was fall of 2018, and that still has, I guess, stayed with the basketball world, and his name is still very prominent in basketball circles. So I like that they're honoring him as well, because a lot of times you think the Naismith Hall of Fame just relates to basketball, in the NBA, the WNBA domestically, but it is proven to be an ever-growing globalized sport, and I'm really happy they are going to potentially honor Patrick Baumann as well.
You mentioned Kim Mulkey is going to get in there, and is she getting in there as a coach, or is she getting in there as a player? And do they differentiate? Can you get in there the both ways?
Same for Rudy T.
See, my gut would tell me both as coaches, because Kim and Rudy Tomjanovich are both known as coaches. At least for me, look, I'm 36. I didn't grow up watching a guy like Rudy Tomjanovich play. I grew up potentially watching him get in fights on the sidelines, if you remember that, when he was with the Rockets. He is a legendary coach nonetheless. He's had great success. So I don't imagine it's something you can kind of pick and choose. In baseball, it's the same sort of thing. These players that have turned managers, can you pick and choose? I know in baseball you can definitely pick which team you want to be, which team's jersey, if you played for multiple teams, you want to be memorialized in. But for basketball, I'm not quite certain how that works. But what I've read is they both are denoted as coaches. Coach Kim Mulkey from Baylor, Coach Rudy Tomjanovich.
Yeah, and Rudy Tomjanovich, great player at Michigan, a great player in the NBA, and probably most famous in his NBA career because of the punch from Kermit Washington. And that book of all the John Feinstein tome, man, that was one of the best, The Punch.
It was a great book. There is no doubt. But I do want to let you guys both know, because I remember well, Rudy Tomjanovich was a great player. He was an all-star player.
Oh, yeah.
Number two. He was on the verge of being one of those guys that might have been a Hall of Fame player. But the punch from Kermit Washington literally, it stopped his prime.
Well, it almost
he was
killed
never
him.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said the punch in that book, Feinstein chronicles that the punch made an impact that sounded like a shotgun blast, and then his head hitting the floor did so much damage. But Andy, I love telling this story, and I've told it through the years here a million times. David and I, we had the author. We had Marty Blake on, and Marty Blake told the story about drafting Pistol Pete Maravich. And in that draft that year, the Detroit Pistons had the number 1 pick, and they took Bob Lanier from St. Bonaventure. And in the draft, very different. It's going to be like a lot of these drafts are this year, kind of by phone and kind of ramshackled, just thrown together. And then the second pick, the San Diego Rockets took Rudy T. So then the commissioner of the NBA came on the phone and said, Atlanta, you're up next. You have 15 minutes. In very colorful language, Marty Blake said, screw the 15 minutes. We take Pistol Pete Maravich.
That's funny you say that, because kind of getting off track here a little bit, Seth, but you never see that really happen. And there are no-brainer draft picks, even in today's NBA, where everyone and their mother knows who's going number 1, who's going number 2. But still to this day, these teams take the full 5 minutes for whatever reason, dramatic purposes. We don't know why, but it's funny how that's changed since then, because the draft could be a lot quicker, realistically, if you cut out the time between picks when you just know who's going.
Yeah, but we got to sell the ads, though, Andy.
Exactly. got to keep the drama, for the purpose of must-see TV, I guess.
It's like people with that first pick, in any draft. Come on, you got to know by now.
Exactly. That's the uniform consensus of everyone watching. Yet then, as time ticks on, well, do you think they could pick this guy? Well, maybe they're looking at this guy. They're potentially going to trade the pick. When at that point in time, the front office behind the scenes, they're already popping the champagne, lighting up the cigars, and celebrating.
Right. Speaking of your league, I don't think this can happen, but they know they can't play the playoffs the way they normally do. We're out of time for that. It's over. They're still holding out some hope that they can have a champion for 2019 and 20. So they're talking about one location as the only solution, and Vegas is the only city that they are currently giving any kind of serious consideration to, sending 16 teams to Vegas to play in empty arenas. Do you really believe that could happen?
I do, and here's why I say that. Despite a number of veteran players in the league that have a voice and have a credible voice, have come out to clearly say they would be against playing in empty arenas with no fans. The reason I do think it could happen, Dave, is because the Players Association, the NBA, every general manager that I've talked with, every coach I've talked with, the ownership, they all have one collective goal, which is to somehow salvage this season. And if that is the way, and I do not know if or when this may happen, but if everyone comes to the table and that's the solution, I believe they'll move forward with it. Because if the only alternative is to go back to the drawing board or potentially play in multiple cities, risking the health and safety of players to try and bring fans in when this thing really isn't contained, the coronavirus, to then exacerbate the risks that are inherent with placing all these people in such a small area or small location, it's just not worth it. So it's almost like it's the lesser of all potential other evils, but I know that everyone from top to bottom, everyone involved is so intent on saving this season and finding a way to play. And so if things calm down to the point where it's doable as a potential solution to save the season, even if it's July or August, I do think they will do that.
I have. Well, it's clear that the only way they could play it would be in empty stadiums. There's just no way we will be back. But then, again, I'm going to go back to what the NFL Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Alan Sills, said today, which is if we have any athletes competing against one another, and he was talking about the NFL, but I'm certain this would be the same philosophy used by the medical experts that the NBA has hired, is that we'd have to test these guys on a regular basis and be able to get the results back quickly. I don't know if there's enough tests, and I don't know if there's a test that you can turn over that quickly in that kind of abundance that would allow you to do that in the time period they're looking at, which would probably be, sometime in June or July?
June, as early as June, and potentially even I've seen proposals talking about as late as early to mid-August. But exactly to that point, and I've been saying this for quite some time, and it's not a novel idea, it's so scary because all it takes is one person to contract this virus. Secondly, you can be a carrier of the virus and be asymptomatic. So besides logistics and the challenges that you just talked about of being able to quickly turn around test results in a timely fashion in order to pump out professional sports, professional basketball, how do you truly know someone may not have this? Everyone from if you're unable to do that, I'm saying, if you're unable to efficiently test people very quickly, there's always that 1% risk that someone out there involved in the game, whether it's a ref, whether it's a scorekeeper, anyone sitting at the table, the assistant coaches, whoever it could be, one person has this, even if everyone on the team and the organization is symptom-free, and you see how quickly this thing is capable of spreading and affecting people, we're right back to where we are. And just from a bigger societal picture, it's a little bit concerning until we have a vaccine, a cure, immunization, whatever the case may be, to alleviate this. It's the same scenario, just in society and in this country. If the curve continues to be flattened, and if people abide by all the stay-at-home orders, again, all it takes is one person. And so at what point in time can you get to a sense of relief that it's safe to open up the economy and open up the country, so to speak? I don't know.
And the fact, Andy, also of the liability factor for teams and venues and everybody in every business after the fact. You don't want to be first. It might be better to wait and see how we wade through this, because the exposure, both medically and then the liability, legality aspect issue of it for the NBA and everybody, it is large.
Yep, exactly. There's so many logistical challenges and liability challenges and issues, like you mentioned, that people don't quite understand. I think the average fan might just sit there and think, great, when it's safe to go play basketball, there's going to be basketball, and we can go out there and play. And this is a professional sport played in a large scale, and how this could affect everyone involved, how it could affect the players going back to their families, how it's going to affect just so many things. And even not this season, it's absolutely going to have an impact on the world of sports, and especially the NBA, since we're talking about the NBA, next season, how it's going to impact players who are in the NBA this year, who might want to go back over to Europe for next season, how that's going to be handled, how certain countries in Europe will be opening their borders to American players coming to play professional basketball, depending on how things are in the U.S., and vice versa. Players coming over from Europe to come play in the NBA, if they are drafted or they sign as a free agent this summer, which the NBA has not even addressed timing of the draft, of the pre-draft process, when free agency might be. It shifts everything. It's affecting the bottom line, and it's up to the NBA and the Players Association and ownership to find a way to just come to best case scenario, because whatever solution they all come to, it's not going to be perfect. We just have to manage it as best as we can.
We do. Andy, in your scouting for players and watching ball, who do you think will, whenever we have a draft, who do you think will be the number one selection, and where do you think the Naismith College Basketball Player of the Year out of Dayton, Obi Toppin, will go?
Well, to answer your first question, I think it will come down to positional need. And I've heard a lot of teams have Anthony Edwards from Georgia rated ahead of James Wiseman. I don't quite think it's a lock that Wiseman is a number one overall pick like he was prior to the season. And I don't necessarily think the ineligibility issue at Memphis and the lack of exposure on the college level, not being able to play for the Tigers, necessarily hurt him. It's just other players have done things to help them and almost leapfrog a James Wiseman in scouts and GM's eyes. So I would say, as today, for my money, I would probably bet on Anthony Edwards, and I don't bet, so don't worry about that. And then Obi Toppin, great player, Dayton Flyers. I think he's somewhere in the lottery. I think you've got a lot of these teams, Stats and Dave, they have tiers. And they think of the draft class in tiers. So they'll say, hey, he's a first-tier guy. Now, is he at the very top of that tier? Is he in the middle of that tier? Is he in the very low end of that tier? We have to kind of dig deep, watch film, do our homework and due diligence, and gather intel to then order that tier. Now you move on to that second tier. And I think Obi Toppin solidly in that second tier. I'm talking maybe like 6 to 7, all the way down to 14, 15, 16. And then it's just a matter of how the dominoes fall, who might be trading up that doesn't have a pick in that range right now, positional need, what potential roster moves the team might be looking to make. And what would be very interesting to me to see, which I personally would be all for this, the NBA has now proposed one idea, just proposed having the draft following free agency, which I think is a great idea because that will give these teams so much of a clearer picture of positional need, roster fit, who they need to draft, what their team needs. Whereas right now, you have the draft and you draft based on a number of factors, and then you move right into free agency, and you're not necessarily, unless you're really picking a top 5 pick, you're not necessarily making plays in free agency based on who you drafted, unless you truly believe who you drafted is going to come in and be an immediate impact player, franchise player. For the majority of teams, and really once you get out of the top 15, 16 picks all the way up to 60, that's not going to impact necessarily what you're going to do in free agency. So now if you reverse it and you have free agency first, I think that could really determine and change a lot of things and which players these teams have on their draft boards. So that would be interesting to see. I think this is the time to experiment if there ever was a time. And at this point, we're just all waiting for a timeline of when the NBA will have these off-season events like the NBA Combine, the pre-draft process, and the draft. And right now, that's something I've got my hands all over because, like we've talked about, I spend my days doing a ton of work from a recruiting standpoint and gathering feedback and intel from teams because that's all I can really do now. But on the flip side, that's all these GMs and scouts are focused on. There's really nothing else that's occupying their time right now other than just trying to dive deep into film and study college players and rank them because that's really all they can do without keeping up with games.
Could we see a draft that would not include those workouts that you're talking about, or you're gathering in Chicago of the top prospects?
Dave, interestingly enough, I didn't think so, but I've talked to so many teams in the last week. Majority of these teams do not think there will be a pre-draft process. And I understand why from a logistics standpoint. I also just think that seriously puts a lot of players behind the 8 ball, not only for this process, but throughout their career, because a lot of teams down the road in free agency will add a player, trade for a player, whatever the case might be, in how you acquire a player, because they remember that player in the pre-draft interview, which you can still do virtually. You can knock that piece out, but they remember that player coming into the gym, sitting down with their coaching staff. The coaches remember that player. They remember their on-court workout. They remember how great they played at the NBA Combine, their measurements, all these little things, getting them in front of their medical staff. And if you take all that away, it's not only going to impact the draft process, hurt some players, help some that might be overexposed in the pre-draft process, but it will also negatively impact them for years to come, potentially negatively impact them for years to come, where all these other players already in the NBA and players who will enter the NBA in the future will not have that detriment hanging over their head, kind of that black mark on their report card, so to speak. So unfortunately, I think that is a scenario that we might see, and I wish there was a way around it because myself as an agent, I've got a lot of players that would benefit year in and year out from going through that process. And I'd hate to see them mix that all together, but I understand why they would have to.
Andy, boy, it is. You have to have a strong scouting and front office right now because you could go out with these times and these circumstances and make some mistakes that would take years to unravel.
Absolutely. I mean, every team right now, they're diving into film. I mean, every team I talk with, they are using this time to do nothing but watch film on draft prospects because think about it, for a majority of these top players, they're playing basketball right now, or they were just finishing up in the previous weeks. And so you take away this big stage of the NCAA tournament and playing at the highest level of college basketball, that really takes away an evaluation period for these NBA teams to evaluate these players. So now is as good a time as any when you got nothing else going on to sit there and pull up full games and have conference calls with your staff, with your scouts, which all these teams are doing right now.
Next week, my friend, you're going to have to explain to me what everybody sees in Anthony Edwards. I watched him up close and personal against the Tigers. I've seen him on TV several times. I don't see how you could take him as a Sherlock over James Wiseman. There's no way in my mind.
We'll talk more about it, but Dave, I'll say one word, which is what I've heard time and time again with so many of these and time and time again with all these lottery prospects: upside.
Okay, we'll do it. Andy, great job. Thank you, and best to you and your family here.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
Good to have you back in town.
I'm sorry it's under these circumstances, but I'm glad you're home, and I know your parents love being able to see you and check on you, and likewise for you. We'll visit again next Friday. Andy, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Sounds good. Be safe. Stay healthy. Thanks, guys.
We will. Thank you, Andy. Andy Schiffman with us every Friday, Dave. And I'm with you on Anthony Edwards. I know people are going, y'all saw him one time in person. No, I watched him about 15 other times as well, and I really only saw him really ring my chimes one time, and that's when they were buried late out in Maui early in the year to Kansas. Was it Kansas out in Michigan State? Michigan State. And I mean, they were so far behind. Michigan State had kind of gone into cruise control, and then he lit it up. And that was the only time I saw him really dominant that I thought, yeah, that's game changer. Only time all year, Dave. When we come back, we will replay from the 4 o'clock hour Bill Dries, legendary Memphis news man and news reporter. He is the ink-stained wretch's ink-stained wretch. He is a reporter's reporter. We will replay him, Dave, when we come back after this break.
You got it. Let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, the 16-point Energy Super Saver tune-up. This is when they come through your house. First of all, they knock on the door. They're going to put their little slippers on. They're going to go into your utility closet, and they are going to fine-tune inside, replace all the filters, and make sure everything is clean and tip-top efficient. Then they'll put their shoes really kind of back on. They take those slippers off, and they go outside. They go and really work on your outside unit, cleaning all the grime and the leaves and the dirt out. And then they take this little Teflon coating, and they coat the blades to protect it from the hot summer sun from Memphis, and now you will be efficient and beautiful. And you're going to love it, and it only costs $69. If you do make this call, 384-3511, right now, you get the early bird special. You can get all of that, the 16-point tune-up and the Teflon coating and a leak checkage, all for $57. Please call 384-3511. Get the tune-up from Conway Services. Back in a minute, and we will talk with Bill Dries when we return to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 mornings with Peter Edmiston and CJ Hurts. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Does your air conditioning system need Freon every year? It may be time for Conway Services' 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up with a free leak check. Good news, it's Super Tune-Up time at Conway Services. We'll come out and perform our 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up on your air conditioning system for only $69 with a free leak check. That's right, Conway Services exclusive 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up for only $69 with a free leak check. We'll remove years of dirt, grime, and leaves from your air conditioning system. It's like taking your air conditioner to a car wash, all for only $69. If that's not enough, we'll treat your unit with a special Teflon coating to help protect against the hot Memphis sun. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company at 384-3511. And call this week and ask for the early bird special, and we'll perform your super tune-up for only $57.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
If you're a pro, Lowe's knows how hard you work every day. So it's important that others are working hard for you. We're here to help with the supplies you need to make critical repairs and the products your customers need to keep their homes safe and healthy during this important time. From our convenient curbside loading to spring savings on the products you need most, our focus is to help keep your business moving forward. Lowe's is pro-ready, and we thank you for all you do.
Hey, sports fans, you already know the Butcher Shop has been a great Memphis tradition since 1981, and it still is. The Butcher Shop is absolutely open for your takeout with curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery because the Butcher Shop is still serving your favorite steaks, fish, and seafood. But now you can also pick them up raw and take them home to cook. You get the highest quality from the Butcher Shop and the comfort of home cooking. All wine and beer selections can be sold and picked up curbside as well. Plus, order curbside and pickup and receive 10% off your food order. And how about Burger Fridays? Treat your company to lunch, and the Butcher Shop will deliver Hamburger Friday any day of the week with all the fixins for just a minimum $250 order. The Butcher Shop is here for you, so don't worry about getting a great meal. The Butcher Shop has cooked or uncooked meals for curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery. Call 757-4244 or online at thebutchershop.com. The Butcher Shop at the Agri Center, Walnut Grove, and Germantown Parkway.
Hi, this is Greg Gaston from Sports 56 Middays. During this coronavirus pandemic, many of you are spending all day at home, and we remind you that you can stay in touch and connected through Sports 56. Turn us on your radio, computer, phone, or smart speaker, and stay up to date and connected with the community. Keep practicing social distancing, and remember to wash your hands often. And hopefully, before too long, we can get back to some sort of normalcy. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay connected with Sports 56 and Sports56WHBQ.com.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Central Barbecue, Sunrise, Sweetgrass, Humdinger's, Germantown Commissary, Jason's Deli, Corky's, East Coast Wings, Moe's, and Soulfish Cafe. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Cruising through our final hour on this Friday. The weekend's about to approach. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Maybe you can get out and jog a little bit or ride a bike or take a little walk and keep your distance. Please keep your distance. And enjoy a little time, I hope, without any stress. This portion of our show brought to you by Genesis of Olive Branch, the G90. I've got one of those, the G80, the G70. They all have so many features. There's so much technology and safety, including full LED highlights, front and rear parking sensors, integrated memory system, power tilt and telescopic steering wheels, 8-inch touchscreen navigation system, heated front seats, cooling front seats, Genesis logo approach lights. I mean, you name it, they have got it. They are just luxurious all the way around, and they're built to last forever. Every car gets a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. When you get on Lamar, you go into Mississippi, first exit's Craft Road, it's Highway 78 when you cross state line. You know you're going to see what I think is the standard for the car business. They will treat you right. They are flexible. They are very out front, and they give you a deal and then treat you like family. Go see for yourself why. Not only the best cars, but the best place to buy them. Genesis of Olive Branch. A little while ago, we got a chance to catch up with one of the busiest guys going right now because of this pandemic, and that would be our friend who I worked with for well over 10 years at WREC, now a reporter and one of the lead reporters on this pandemic for the Daily Memphian. We got to catch up with Bill Drees. Thank you for joining us, and let me know what exactly has happened in your world today.
Well, today's been pretty much like the others. Nothing you can really plan for. Some briefings. There were a few changes. The one that's probably the most notable is that the city is talking to store owners who run essential businesses under the city's state of civil emergency about not allowing more than 10 people in a store at a time. So that's an adjustment on the terms of this state of civil emergency. The official count from the Shelby County Health Department is 640 confirmed cases in Shelby County, and 8 people have died in Shelby County from this pandemic.
Incredible, Bill. And Bill, I thought a lot of the verbiage, some of the word use by political leaders, national, local, national, state, and federal, I think they've done everything they can, Bill. Have you noticed? Tell me if you noticed this, or it's just me. Everything they can not to use some of those code words from days gone by. They haven't used curfew. They haven't used. They don't want to get near martial law. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, this started with Mayor Jim Strickland in his initial declaration of simply a state of emergency last month, and he was very clear to point out that this is not like a state of emergency that we last saw here in Memphis 42 years ago, exactly, during the 1978 strikes by police and firefighters. That's why he has insisted on calling this a safer at home order as opposed to going with the legal verbiage on it.
Bill, let me clarify this new edict from the mayor today, and I've not seen the story yet, but he's saying he's asking even essential businesses, and I'm assuming that means Kroger, that means Walgreens, that there will be no more than 10 customers in a business at one time?
That yes. Businesses, the order is having no more than 10 in groups. It would not apply to grocery stores and limit them to 10 people at one time because they are such big areas, and they have to adhere to the 6-foot distancing rule. And the rules at some of the supermarkets, depending on which you go to, have kind of been all over the place. And I think what you're going to see, if you haven't seen it already, is they're going to all start singing from the same hymn book here, because some of the stores I've been in, when you check out, they have lines marked for 6 feet between folks waiting in line. Some of them don't. At some stores, you see a lot of entire families coming out to shop. Just this week, the supermarket started saying, please, when you come to buy what you need, you come, don't bring the whole family with you. It's really an odd circumstance because going to the supermarket has now become, for some people, the way that they get out and socialize in this very strange environment that we're in. But again, 10 people in does not apply to the grocery stores.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Bill, when I asked earlier about the word use, the verbiage, I wasn't, and you sure weren't either. I wasn't knocking anybody because I know how word usage has changed. I mean, we used to kind of just euphemistically say policeman. Well, now it's police officer. So things have changed, and that may be one of the good things. I do notice this about locally and nationally. It has been a lot more rather than less. It's been pressers. It's been availability. I mean, the mayor's been great to us. He's been great to everybody around town. They really want to get their message out. This is no clandestine sitting behind a desk writing it out story for them, is it?
No, it's not. And in fact, this is such a huge story and will continue to be for the foreseeable future that really our day here revolves around 2 p.m. briefing by the Shelby County Health Department that we actually carry live on our website. And then you have at least a 3 p.m. release from the mayor's office and an email update of some kind, which is also on his website. If he's going to ratchet up the conditions on this, which he has periodically, he will usually call a press conference for that. Yesterday at about 3 o'clock, we had a live briefing from Dr. Manoj Jain, who is one of the infectious disease experts who is consulting with the city, and Doug McGowan, the chief operating officer for the city. And they were both there at 3 o'clock to explain a bit more about these 1,000 plus new hospital beds that the city is working on with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So it's a pretty regular time frame that's a little bit later. It's not first thing in the morning. It's usually about mid-afternoon. And, man, when things start happening, you can make it to 6 o'clock without having time to catch your breath.
In the blink of an eye, time can move quickly. Yesterday at about 3:30, we had the mayor on with us, and he let us know there were only 250 ventilators that the city of Memphis had in its possession at the moment. If you can, and I know this is speculative, but paint a picture for me of what you think we are going to see around Memphis in 2 weeks when, as the governor has said, we will see this surge.
I think what you're going to see is that some of the state help for the city will have started to kick in by then. The governor has said we need 7,000 additional hospital beds statewide to deal with this, and 1,000 of those, at least 1,000 of those, will be here in Memphis. The communication between this city and the governor's administration in Nashville, I think, has really started to work well. Congressman Steve Cohen, one of the two congressmen whose district covers the city, and David Kustoff being the other in the 8th District, they are both working with the White House and working with Congress so that the flow of aid from the federal government reaches where it needs to be here. And all of them are making the case to Washington and Nashville that in Memphis, historically, the hospitals and the healthcare community here have been the hospitals and doctors who have been used by people not just in Shelby County, but in rural West Tennessee and eastern Arkansas and North Mississippi. And certainly no one expects that is going to be any different when this pandemic reaches surge level locally.
Bill, did you ever think you'd cover a pandemic?
I did not. This is actually my second state of emergency. I was around for the one in 78, which, as we talked about earlier, was much different. But a pandemic, this is the kind of stuff that you read novels about or that you see television shows about, and it's spellbinding when you're reading it in a book. When you're living through it, you're ready for it to be over after about 24 hours, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's really no end in sight. Bill, can you ever remember a story where you checked every box: politics, business, sports, religion, pop culture, public safety? No, those don't come along too often. But I will tell you that from having been doing this a while, I learned a little while ago, not too far back there, but a little bit ago, that really I'm still covering the biggest story that I've ever covered, and that is the life of this city.
Well, this is a big part of the life of the city. I arrived in 81. I think I was working with you in about 84 or 85. And I can't remember a story with more tentacles and more impact than this one has. I am so worried for 2 weeks from now when those hospitals get full. I really can't imagine what it will totally be like. I know one thing. I am certainly abiding by the decisions that are made by Dr. Jain and Dr. Haushalter, and I will listen to every medical person and heed their advice. I think that will be critical in this particular case. I'm going to ask you what you think about the leadership that we've seen so far from both the city mayor, the county mayor, and the two medical personnel, Hausholter and Jane, that I mentioned.
I think the reaction here locally has been really on the same page since day one, and Mayor Strickland has really set the tone for that, and it's been a tone that is designed to get your attention. I think he realizes that starting out there were probably some people who didn't take this seriously, and I think that to be honest with you, that was a function of what people were seeing from some state leaders here, as well as leaders on the federal level. And so I think he felt like he had to counteract that without kind of stepping into the political arena with him and trying to go tit for tat on it. Mm-hmm. But I think he felt like he had to establish it. So the response here has been coordinated. It's come together really fast as these things go in government circles, and it's had a sense of urgency basically since the day that the World Health Organization said this was a global pandemic.
Bill, you kind of alluded to it. There's this thing about politics and politicians. Well, they are always politicians, and they're always in the field of politics. But I do not think that Mayor Strickland has been at all political. I think he has led, and he is not worried about the optics of it.
That's where the smart money among political leaders has been. Don't play this like you would normally play it, because this is a very different experience for people, and they are looking for something different than the typical responses that you see in day-to-day life in politics.
Yeah, I don't really want to see a big cat fight right now with mayor and council, or mayor in various constituencies and political groups. Right now, I want to see what I'm seeing, and that's leadership, and it's been without. He hadn't done it with the George W. Bush bullhorn moment. He's done it very steady and very soberly.
Well, it's also a balancing act, too, because what comes first in all this is dealing with the pandemic. But pretty close behind it is the tremendous blow to a local economy that just several weeks ago was booming. And that's what you're starting to see some more attention come to by all of these leaders is, okay, while we're dealing with that, while we're preparing for the surge, we need to be also collecting our thoughts about how to turn this economy back on and how to do it the right way and how to help people. And some of this is based on the experience of some of these folks who really know the financial world really well, and lessons learned from the Great Recession that started in 2008.
I do think there will be lessons learned from 2008 that could help us to a quicker recovery. At least I certainly hope that is the case. And Harris and Strickland have worked together so well. Do you think there was pressure put on? I know Steve Cohen was critical of Governor Bill Lee on CNN a couple of nights ago, and then the governor, who was getting a lot of grief from many of the national pundits, changed his stay-at-home from urging to a mandate. Do you think the governor's response has been as quick as maybe it should have been?
I think he has had his critics of his response. I think that he has had a somewhat different mindset than watching the count of the cases daily. But I think he's faced bipartisan pressure to ratchet this up from Democrats like Steve Cohen, who is always very upfront about his opinions. But he's also faced it from some of the Republican legislators from rural parts of the state that are now starting to feel this, and areas where the hospital that was in some of those small communities not too long ago, maybe several years ago, has closed, So that I think was an important moment. For the record, Governor Lee's position on this is that he changed it because he looked at some data from cell phone calls, from where cell phones were pinging. He looked at some traffic data on the state's highways, and determined that he didn't think that enough Tennesseans were taking the voluntary effort seriously, so he pulled the switch on the mandatory order.
Last thing for Bill Dries, reporter from the Daily Memphian, and we only got about a minute. So, Bill, let's say we surge and we get through this in May. From the perspective of the local economy, just a hunch, I know you're speculating, how fast do you think it will be before we recover?
Well, we had Kevin Kane on our show Behind the Headlines on WKNO this week, and he thinks just for the tourism economy, which may be the bulk of the people who lost their jobs just like that it might not be until 2022 until things are back to normal there.
Bill Dries, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll stay in touch with you. We really are grateful for your time.
I look forward to it.
Thank you, Bill.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Lemon Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC-accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Lemon Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemonbrace.com.
Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Ruddock Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day, group play, and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, we hit fame. We busy with the deal, we get insane.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
We'll take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo! Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. They do, and we appreciate you at Taco Bell. I learned today that NFL great and almost in the Hall of Fame, come up a little bit short for a couple years now, Tony Boselli, his horrible fight with COVID-19, 47 years old, picture of health, and had a fight for his life. All of the stories we're getting near and far, from famous and not so famous, from big town, small town, everywhere. It is something that we will be talking about, written about, studied on so many levels for so long. If we're still in the first inning, it has been a long, long first inning. I'll be glad to get to the top of the second whenever we do. Could have done without today. The NCAA dead period, they're extending it. It's going to be really hard for some to get teams set, to have some continuity with their team. You know, the summer school sessions for a lot of college basketball teams, that's a bonding time for them with individual workouts and some limited group workouts that the staffs can have with them. It will make college basketball look very different at the beginning of next year, whenever next year begins. You know, if we have no college football because of no college, that means no fall basketball either. No November games, probably limited in December. Some of the early, more exotic trips to take. First of all, who's going to be able to afford to go to Maui, and who's going to want to sit in that little bitty bandbox of a gym in Maui come Maui Classic time?
Well, I think ultimately Maui, the people that could afford to go to it before probably still be able to, depending on how hard they're hit. I mean, we're talking about the 1%, right?
Yeah, but this one's going to get us all.
Yeah, but we're not talking about average old Joe Smo fan, though. I mean, I wasn't going to Maui before it.
Probably not, but it takes, and maybe not for Maui, but it takes a lot of us regular Joes to go to sports. We shall see. Keeping a close eye tomorrow on the Naismith Hall of Fame announcement. We heard the leak today, and we also heard that Eddie Sutton will be in. Can't wait to watch that announcement and celebrate that with him tomorrow from afar, and his family and his many, many friends and his former players. And on Monday, we'll have one of his former players at Arkansas. He played basketball and football at Arkansas. You know him coaching. A lot of people know him as coaching college football in this area at Arkansas and at Ole Miss. Houston Nutt will be with us Monday at 4:30 to talk about his basketball coach, Coach Eddie Sutton, going into the Hall of Fame. We'll read more and learn more this weekend about cancellations, delays, post moments. Getting down to not much left. The PGA Tour, I think, next week's got some hard decisions to make about the balance of their May schedule that hadn't been officially canceled yet or postponed. They've got to do that, and maybe into some June dates. Same for the NBA and Major League Baseball for resumption at the very earliest in some fashion around June, more likely July. At the rosiest scenario, July. But on Monday, we will have David Cobb with us from CBS Sports. We'll have Scott Morris from the Faith Front with us. I'm missing Houston Nutt. And also at 5 o'clock on Monday, Dave Mason, brand manager of BetOnline.com. That's coming up on Monday. For Dave, for Drew, I'm Brett. Everybody have a safe, happy weekend. Enjoy it the best you can. We'll be back with you on Monday at 3 o'clock. Stay safe.
First Bank is here to help you, whether you're a business looking for a loan to expand or refinance an existing one, a homeowner looking for a mortgage or home equity line, a consumer wanting to finance your dream car, or wanting a competitive rate on your CD deposits. Let First Bank try to handle your banking needs. Stop into one of First Bank's 3 local branches today. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper, 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase, and 6280 Highway 64